Hey guys, tonight we're dropping you straight into the heart of ancient Egypt, where the sun blazes like a cosmic spotlight and the Nile whispers secrets of survival. Picture yourself stumbling out of a time portal, your sneakers sinking into hot sand, the air so thick it feels like breathing soup. You're in the land of pharaohs, pyramids, and 1,000 ways to meet your doom before dinner. Spoiler alert, you probably won't survive this, but let's see how far you get. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'm curious where you're listening from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You blink against the glare, your modern clothes already sticking to your skin. It's 3000 BCE, and you're standing on the edge of a desert that stretches like an endless golden ocean. The heat hits you like a slap. Think 110 degrees Fahrenheit, no shade, no AC. Your phone's dead, your water bottle's empty, and the nearest Starbucks is 5,000 years away. Welcome to Egypt, where the environment itself is your first enemy. The Sahara isn't just hot. It's a furnace that bakes your brain and saps your strength. Historians note that ancient Egyptians survived by sticking close to the Nile, their lifeline for water and crops. But you're a fish out of water, and the desert doesn't care. Your throat's already parched, and you're squinting at the horizon, hoping for a mirage that doesn't exist. You stumble toward a glimmer of green in the distance, where the Nile's banks promise relief. But here's the kicker, you're not alone. The locals, draped in linen, eye you like you're an alien. Your jeans and t-shirt scream outsider, and trust me, blending in isn't an option. You try waving, but their stares harden. A quirky tidbit? Egyptians shave their heads to beat the heat, often wearing wigs for style. You, with your sweaty mop of hair, look like a walking fever dream. The sand's burning through your soles now, and you're wondering how anyone survives this. Spoiler, most don't, not without know-how. You're dehydrated, disoriented, and culturally clueless. Historians still argue whether Egypt's harsh climate shaped its rigid social order or if the pharaoh's control tamed the land first. Either way, you're not ready for this. You trip over a rock, cursing, and a kid nearby laughs. Guess humor's universal, even if your dignity isn't. Your first hour's ticking by, and you're already regretting this time travel stunt. The Nile's close, but so's trouble. You're not just lost, you're a target. Let's talk survival odds. The desert's a dehydrator, and you've got no canteen. Egyptians carried water in clay jars, but you're empty-handed. You're thinking, I'll just drink from the river, but hold that thought, Nile water's a gamble we'll get to soon. For now, you're baking, your skin turning pinker by the minute. A modern aside, sunscreen's 5,000 years off, and the Egyptians used ochre paste to block UV rays. Imagine slathering clay on your face and hoping it works. You'd laugh, but your lips are cracking. Joke number 2, you're so red, the locals might mistake you for a sunburned god. They won't worship you, though, just point and whisper. You're staggering now, the heat making your head swim. A vulture circles overhead, and you're half convinced it's taking bets on your collapse. The Nile's maybe a mile off, but it feels like a marathon. You're not built for this, and Egypt's not forgiving. That kid's still trailing you, giggling at your wobbly steps. Maybe he's your only ally, or maybe he's waiting to loot your corpse. Either way, you're in deep, and this is just the start. The desert's testing you, and you're failing. Hard. You're still trudging through the desert, the Nile's green promise teasing you from afar. The sun's not just hot now, it's a personal vendetta, pressing down like a giant's palm. Your skin's screaming, your mouth's a dust bowl, and every step feels like wading through molasses. You're in ancient Egypt, hour 2, and the heat's already rewriting your survival odds. You're thinking, how did anyone live here? Well, they did. But you? You're a modern softie, and this sun's about to roast you alive. The temperature's hovering around 115 degrees Fahrenheit, and there's no breeze, no cloud, no mercy. Your sneakers are melting into the sand, and your t-shirt's a soggy rag. Egyptians thrived here because they adapted, light linen clothes, head shaving, and sticking to shade during peak hours. You, though, are a walking heat stroke. Historical fact, ancient Egyptians used the sun cycle for everything, from farming to religious rites, worshipping Ra as its god. You're not worshipping anything right now, unless cursing counts. You're just trying not to pass out. You squint at the horizon, where heat shimmers blur the world. Your head's pounding, and you're dizzy enough to think that cactus-looking thing is waving at you. Spoiler, it's not. A quirky tidbit, Egyptians believed the sun was rolled across the sky by a giant scarab beetle. You'd laugh, but your throat's too dry. Instead, you're stumbling, your legs wobbling like a newborn giraffe. Joke 1. You're so cooked, you could double as a sacrificial offering. No altar needed. The sand's relentless, sneaking into your shoes, your eyes, your soul. You're starting to hallucinate. Maybe that's a palm tree. Maybe it's a Starbucks. Nope, just more desert. You're not built for this endurance test. Historians still argue whether Egypt's climate forced its people into disciplined routines or if their devotion to order tamed the environment. Either way, you're chaos incarnate, flailing in a world that demands precision. You trip again, sand coating your sweaty arms. A nearby lizard skitters away, probably judging you. Your body's betraying you now. Sweat stopped, bad sign. Your heart's racing and your vision's spotty. Dehydration's kicking in, and you've got no plan. Egyptians carried water in goatskin bags, but you're stuck with nothing but regret. You're thinking about that Nile, still too far, and wondering if you'll make it. A modern aside, you'd kill for a Gatorade, but the closest thing here is beer, and good luck finding that. You're not even sure you trust it. Your stomach's growling, but food's a distant dream. A shadow moves nearby, a local, maybe, watching from a dune. You wave weakly, hoping for help, but they vanish. You're an outsider, and trust is scarce. You're starting to get it. Egypt's not just a place, it's a gauntlet. The sun's climbing higher, and your energy's plummeting. You're remembering that vulture from earlier, still circling like it's got a front row seat. Joke 2. You're so pathetic, even the vulture's losing interest. You'd flip it off, but your arms are too heavy. You force another step, then another, the Nile's glint pulling you like a magnet. But the heat's warping your brain. You're muttering to yourself, half delirious, about sunscreen and ice cubes. A kid's voice laughs again. Yep, that same brat from before, trailing you like a pint-sized paparazzo. You're too weak to care. You're starting to see why Egypt's gods were so intense. This sun demands respect. You're not giving it willingly, but it's taking it anyway. Your knees buckle, and you drop to the sand, gasping. The ground's like a skillet, burning through your jeans. You're not sure if you're closer to the Nile or just imagining it. Either way, you're in trouble. The desert's not done with you, but you're already half-baked. That kid's still there, tossing pebbles now like you're his new favorite game. You'd yell, but your voice is gone. The sun's winning, and you're just a sweaty, stumbling mess. You're crawling now, the Nile's shimmering edge, so close you can almost taste it. The sun's still hammering you, but the promise of water drags you forward like a desperate moth to a flame. You're in ancient Egypt, barely surviving hour 3, and the river's your only shot at not becoming a sun-dried mummy. But here's the thing, that sparkling water's not your friend. The Nile's a lifeline, sure, but it's also a death trap, and you're about to learn why. Your hands claw at the sand as you reach the bank, reeds brushing your face. The water's cool, inviting, lapping gently like it's whispering, "Drink me." You're so thirsty you'd chug a swamp, but hold up, this river's a gamble. Historical fact, the Nile was Egypt's backbone, irrigating crops and sustaining millions, but it was also a breeding ground for parasites. You scoop a handful of water, and it's murky, flecked with who knows what. You hesitate, but your parched throat wins. Big mistake. As you gulp, you notice something slither in the shallows. Your heart skips. The Nile's not just water, it's a predator's playground. Crocodiles, hippos, and snakes call this home, and you're the new kid on the block. A quirky tidbit. Egyptians revered the Nile's dangers, worshipping Sobek, the crocodile god, to appease the river's wrath. You're not praying, you're panicking. That slithering shadow's getting closer, and you're splashing like a toddler in a kiddie pool. Joke 1. You're so clumsy, you're practically auditioning for Sobek's lunch. You scramble back, water dripping down your chin, and realize you've just invited a world of trouble. That drink? It's probably laced with schistosomiasis, a parasite that'll make your insides a horror show. Historians still argue whether the Nile's benefits outweighed its risks or if Egyptians just got lucky with their immune systems. Either way, you're not lucky. Your stomach's already gurgling, and you're wondering if that was water or liquid regret. You're soaked, shaky, and still being watched. Yep, that kid's back, perched on a rock, grinning like you're his personal sitcom. The riverbank's no safe zone. Reeds hide snakes, and the mud's slick enough to send you sprawling. You're trying to stand, but your sneakers are caked with gunk, and something's buzzing near your ear. Mosquitoes. Great. They're not just annoying, they're malaria carriers, and you're a walking buffet. A modern aside, you'd trade your soul for DEET, but the Egyptians used oils and prayers. Good luck with that. You sweat wildly, looking like a deranged windmill, and the kid laughs harder. You're starting to hate that little punk. Your body's a mess now, sunburned, dehydrated, and possibly infected. The Nile's betrayed you, and you're rethinking every life choice that led to this. You glance at the water again, hoping for a miracle, but all you see is your own pathetic reflection. Joke 2. You're so beat, the Nile's considering you for its next flood victim. You'd laugh, but your gut's twisting, and you're pretty sure that drink's fighting back. A rustle in the reeds snaps you alert. Something big's moving, too big. You freeze, heart pounding as a shadow shifts. Is it a croc? A hippo? You don't stick around to find out. You stumble away from the bank, tripping over roots, your breath ragged. The kid's still there, tossing another pebble, and you're tempted to chuck one back. But you're too weak, too scared, and too lost. The Nile's not your savior. It's a maze of risks you're not equipped for. You're staggering now, the river behind you, the desert ahead. Your clothes are drenched, your skin's burning, and your stomach's staging a revolt. That vulture's back overhead, circling like it knows something you don't. You're starting to get it. Egypt's not just testing you. It's toying with you. The Nile's dangers are just the start, and you're nowhere near safe. That kid's voice echoes, mocking, as you limp toward nowhere, praying for shade, for help, for anything. But the river's taught you one thing. In Egypt, even hope comes with teeth. You're limping away from the Nile, the river's betrayal still churning in your gut. The sun's dipping slightly, but the heat's still a bully, and you're a soggy, sunburned mess. You're in ancient Egypt, Hour 4, and the Nile's predators are making you rethink every nature documentary you've ever ignored. Crocodiles aren't just a distant threat. They're real, they're close, and they're not impressed by your panic. You're stumbling through reeds, heart pounding, praying nothing's following you. Spoiler, you're not that lucky. The air's thick with the buzz of insects and the stench of mud. You're scanning the water's edge where ripples hint at trouble. Crocodiles were a fact of life here, historical fact. Egyptians both feared and revered them, building temples to Sobuk while losing limbs to his real-life counterparts. You're not building anything. You're just trying not to be lunch. Your foot catches a root, and you sprawl face first into the muck. A splash nearby sends your pulse into overdrive. You scramble up, eyes wide, and spot a log floating closer. Wait, not a log. Those eyes are way too alive. You bolt, legs burning, as the croc glides silently, its tail flicking like it's already tasting you. A quirky tidbit. Egyptians used crocodile dung as a contraceptive. Yeah, you heard that right. You're not thinking about birth control. You're thinking about not becoming a statistic. Joke 1. You're running so fast, you might set a new Egyptian sprint record. Too bad there's no Olympic papyrus to record it. You crash through reeds, thorns scratching your arms, and realize you're not outrunning this thing. Crocs can hit 20 miles an hour on land. You're barely hitting terrified jog. The ground's uneven, and you're gasping, your lungs screaming for air. You glance back. Bad idea. The croc's still there, low and patient, like it knows you'll tire out. Historians still argue whether Egyptians domesticated crocs for rituals or just learned to coexist with them. Either way, you're not coexisting. You're luncheon waiting, and the Nile's edge is a death trap. You spot a sandy rise and scramble up, hoping height's your friend. Your sneakers slip, but you claw your way to the top, panting like a dog in a sauna. You're shaking now, crouched on the rise, watching the croc pause below. It's not giving up, just waiting. A modern aside, you'd kill for a zoo safety glass right now. But Egypt's got no barriers, just you and nature's worst attitude. Your stomach's still roiling from that Nile water, and your skin's a patchwork of burns and scratches. That kid's back, of course, perched on a distant rock, tossing pebbles like he's betting on the croc. You'd scream at him, but you're too busy hyperventilating. The croc shifts, sliding back toward the water, and you let out a shaky breath. False alarm? Nope. Another ripple catches your eye, another croc, or maybe a hippo. Hippos kill more people than crocs, and you're not sticking around for the stats. You're up, stumbling away from the river, your heart hammering like a war drum. Joke 2. You're so jumpy, you'd flinch at a goldfish. The desert's ahead, but it's no safer, just a different kind of hell. You're starting to get it. Egypt's wildlife doesn't mess around. Your body's screaming for rest, but stopping's not an option. The Nile's behind you, but its threats linger. You're dehydrated again, your mouth like sandpaper, and that parasite's probably throwing a party in your gut. You're wondering how Egyptians dealt with this daily. They fished, farmed, and bathed here, knowing the risks. You're just trying not to cry. That vulture's circling again, and you're half convinced it's got a betting pool with the crocs. You're staggering now, the rise giving way to flat sand. The kid's still trailing, his laughter fading as you put distance between you and the river. You're not safe, not even close. The Nile's predators are just one piece of Egypt's survival puzzle, and you're missing every piece. You're alone, exposed, and running on fumes. The desert's waiting, and it's got its own plans for you. But for now, you're alive, just barely. You're stumbling across the desert again, the Nile's crocodile nightmare fading behind you, but the sand's back to haunt you. It's hour 5 in ancient Egypt, and the gritty reality of this place is sinking in, literally. Sand's everywhere, in your shoes, your hair, your teeth. You're a walking hourglass, and every step's a reminder that this desert doesn't play nice. You're parched, scratched up, and still reeling from that croc chase. But the sand? It's a whole new level of torture. The ground's a mix of coarse grains and sharp pebbles, grinding into your soles like nature's sandpaper. You're squinting through the haze, the sun still high enough to make you miserable. Historical fact: ancient Egyptians built their lives around the desert's edges, using sand for construction and even glass-making, but they never conquered its chaos. You're not conquering anything, you're just trying to keep it out of your underwear. Every gust coats you in a fresh layer, and you're spitting grit like a bad cowboy flick. Joke 1. You're so sandy, you could double as a pyramid foundation. You try brushing it off, but it's like fighting a fog. Your skin's raw from the abrasion, and your eyes are stinging like you've been tear-gassed. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians used sand as a cleaning agent, scrubbing pots and even bodies with it. You're getting a free exfoliation, but it feels like punishment. You're coughing now, the dust clogging your throat, and you're wondering how anyone lived like this. Historians still argue whether the desert's harshness drove Egypt's innovation or just made them stubborn. You're leaning towards stubborn, because this sand's breaking your spirit. Your sneakers are useless, filled with so much grit you're waddling like a penguin. You stop to empty them, and a scorpion skitters out. Yep, that's your life now. You yelp, flailing, and nearly faceplant. That kid's back, of course, giggling from a dune like you're his personal circus. You're tempted to lob a rock, but you're too tired. Your stomach's still churning from that Nile water, and the sand's making everything worse. A modern aside: you'd trade your phone for a vacuum cleaner, but Egypt's got neither. You're stuck, a gritty mess in a gritty world. The wind picks up, and now it's a sandstorm light, stinging pellets pelting your face. You shield your eyes, but it's pointless. Sand's in your nose, your ears, probably your soul. You're starting to get why Egyptians worshipped order. This chaos is maddening. You're stumbling blind, your sunburned skin screaming under the assault. Joke 2. You're so caked in sand, you might get hired as a sand dune. You'd laugh, but your mouth's too dry, and you're pretty sure you're chewing gravel. You spot a cluster of palms in the distance. Shade, maybe? You drag yourself toward it, sand crunching underfoot, clogging your every thought. But the desert's tricky. That oasis is farther than it looks, and your legs are jelly. You're remembering that croc, that parasite, and now this sand. It's like Egypt's throwing a survival gauntlet. The kid's still trailing, tossing pebbles now, and you're wondering if he's the real enemy. You're not built for this, and the desert knows it. Your body's giving up. Your throat's a furnace, your skin's a war zone, and your energy's gone. You collapse under a scraggly palm, sand coating your sweaty face like a bad mask. The shade's weak, but it's something. You're spitting dust, blinking through tears, and realizing you've got no plan. Egyptians lived with this daily, their lives a dance with the desert's whims. You're just a tourist, and a bad one. That vulture's back, circling like it's taking notes. You're starting to think it's got a point. You're lying there, sand in every crevice, and the kid's voice echoes again closer now. He's saying something, but you don't speak ancient Egyptian, so it's just noise. You're too beat to care. The desert's won this round, and you're not sure you've got another in you. The Nile's behind you, the sand's all around, and Egypt's just getting started. You're alive, but you're a mess, and the next challenge is already waiting. You're slumped under that scraggly palm, sand still clinging to your sweaty skin like a bad ex. It's hour 6 in ancient Egypt, and you're barely holding it together after the desert's gritty assault. Your stomach's a war zone from that Nile water, your sunburned screaming, and now you're facing a new horror: ancient hygiene. You're desperate to clean up, wipe off the sand, cool your burns, maybe feel human again. But Egypt's idea of clean is about to make you miss your shower gel and loofah. You're caked in grime, and the locals you spot nearby don't look much better. They're splashing in the Nile, scrubbing with sand and river water, no soap in sight. Historical fact: ancient Egyptians bathed daily, often in the Nile, and valued cleanliness as a religious virtue. But their methods were basic: water, natron salt, and elbow grease. You're eyeing the river, but after that croc chase and parasite scare, you're not diving in. You try wiping your face with your shirt, but it's like polishing a car with sandpaper. You're just smearing the mess around. A local woman gestures you over, offering a handful of natron, a chalky, salty powder. You're confused, but she mimes rubbing it on. You give it a shot, and it's like scrubbing with a Brillo pad. Your skin's raw, and the natron stings your sunburn like lemon juice on a cut. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians used natron not just for bathing, but for mummification. Yep, you're cleaning yourself with corpse preservative. You're gagging at the thought, and the woman laughs, probably thinking you're a delicate flower. Joke 1. You're so filthy, they might mummify you just to save time. You're desperate for a real bath, but the Nile's your only option, and it's a hard pass. You're stuck smelling like sweat, sand, and regret. Your hair's a greasy nest, and you're remembering that head shaving tip from earlier, too late now. The locals' shaved scalps gleam under wigs, while you look like you lost a fight with a dust storm. Historians still argue whether Egypt's hygiene obsession was about health or just ritual purity. Either way, you're failing both. Your modern nose is offended, and you're wondering how anyone stood the stench of unwashed bodies in 100 degrees Fahrenheit heat. Your stomach rumbles, reminding you of that parasite party you started. You're eyeing the local setup: clay pots, a fire, some flatbread. You're starving, but hygiene's making you paranoid. Those hands kneading dough? They were just in the Nile. A modern aside: you'd kill for a bottle of Purell, but Egypt's got nothing but grit and good intentions. You try asking for water, pointing at a jug, but the woman hands you a warm, cloudy liquid that smells like feet. You're too polite, or too weak, to refuse. One sip, and you're coughing. It's not water, it's beer, and not the craft kind. The kid's back, of course, lurking nearby, chewing on a reed and smirking. You're starting to think he's your personal curse. You're sitting in the dirt, natron dust on your hands, beer breath, and a face like a mud pie. Joke 2. You're so gross, even the Nile's rejecting you. You'd laugh, but you're too busy itching. Sand, sweat, and natron are a recipe for a rash. The locals don't seem fazed, chatting and scrubbing like this is normal. You're not normal. You're a hygiene disaster, and Egypt's laughing. You're trying to rally, but your body's done. Your skin's a patchwork of burns, scratches, and now this natron rash. Your gut's staging a full revolt, and you're wondering if you'll ever feel clean again. The sun's lower now, but the heat's still suffocating, and the flies are having a field day. You swat one, and it lands in your beer. Perfect. You're starting to get it. Cleanliness here is a fantasy, and you're the punchline. That vulture's still circling, probably smelling your despair. You drag yourself up, waving off the woman's offer of more natron. You're done with ancient spa day. The desert's waiting, the Nile's a no-go, and you're a walking biohazard. The kid tosses a pebble, and you glare, but he's already scampering off. You're alone again, dirtier than ever, and Egypt's hygiene game is just another reason you're not surviving this. You're stumbling forward, praying for a miracle, but all you've got is sand and a bad attitude. You're staggering away from the Nile's edge, a walking disaster of sand, sweat, and natron rash. It's hour 7 in ancient Egypt, and you're barely clinging to hope. Your skin's a mess, your gut's hosting a parasite rave, and now you're limping toward a village, hoping for help. But the moment you start feeling sorry for yourself, a new horror hits: ancient medicine. You're itching, aching, and possibly feverish, and Egypt's version of a doctor's visit is about to make you wish you'd stayed with the crocodiles. You spot a mud brick house with a crowd outside, and a man in a linen kilt is chanting over a groaning patient. Your rash is screaming, so you shuffle closer, hoping for relief. The doctor glares at you, probably because you look like a sunburned ghost. Historical fact: Egyptian medicine was advanced for its time, with detailed medical texts like the Ebers Papyrus listing treatments for everything from burns to infections. But advanced doesn't mean pleasant. The doctor hands you a clay pot filled with a brownish paste that smells like a barn. You hesitate, and he mimes slathering it on. You dip a finger. Yep, it's sticky and warm. Then you catch a whiff. Dung. Crocodile dung, to be exact. Your stomach lurches, but the crowd's watching, and the kid's back, grinning like he knows what's coming. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians used animal dung, crocodile, cow, even goose, for everything from burns to contraception. You're not sure if this is medicine or a prank, but your rash is unbearable, so you smear it on. It's like rubbing mud mixed with nightmares. The crowd nods approvingly, but you're gagging, and the kid's laughing so hard he's doubled over. Joke 1. You're so desperate, you're literally spreading crap on your problems. Congrats, you're officially Egyptian. The paste burns, then numbs, which might be progress or just your skin giving up. You're trying not to puke, but the doctor's already moving on, chanting over a kid with a swollen foot. You're wondering how this counts as health care. Historians still argue whether Egyptian medicine was more science or superstition. Texts mention spells alongside surgeries. Either way, you're not feeling healed. Your fever's climbing, and that Nile water's probably to blame. You're swaying now, and the crowd's whispering, probably betting on your collapse. A modern aside, you'd trade your soul for an Advil, but the closest thing here is willow bark, and good luck finding that. You stumble away, the dung paste crusting on your arm. Flies are swarming now, drawn to your new scent. You're a walking petri dish, and the village smells like dust, sweat, and more dung. You're starting to get why hygiene was a losing battle. Your gut twists again, and you're praying it's just hunger, not something worse. The doctor's chanting fades, but you catch him mixing another batch of medicine. You're not going back. You'd rather itch than play dung roulette again. The sun's dipping, casting long shadows, but the heat's still clinging. You're scanning for shade, but the village is a maze of mud brick walls and curious stares. The kid's trailing you, tossing pebbles like it's his job. You're too weak to care. Joke 2. You're so gross, even the flies are holding their noses. You'd laugh, but your throat's raw, and you're spitting dust again. You're remembering that natron disaster. Maybe you should have stuck with sand. At least it didn't smell like a sewer. Your body's falling apart. The rash is spreading, the fever's fogging your brain, and the dung paste is flaking off, leaving a trail like grotesque breadcrumbs. You're wondering how Egyptians survived this. They did, somehow, with herbs, prayers, and a lot of guts. You've got none of those. That vulture's back, circling lower now, and you're half convinced it's your personal Grim Reaper. You collapse against a wall, panting, the dung stench following you like a curse. The kid's voice echoes, mocking, and you're starting to think Egypt's medicine is just slow-motion torture. You're not healed. You're worse. The village is no sanctuary, just another trap. You're dragging yourself forward, praying for water, shade, anything that doesn't involve animal waste. But Egypt's not done with you. The desert's waiting, the Nile's a death trap, and your body's giving up. You're a feverish, dung-smeared mess, and survival's looking like a sick joke. The kid tosses another pebble, and you flinch. You're alive, but you're not sure why you're bothering. You're hobbling through the village, a dung-smeared, feverish wreck, with the kid's laughter still ringing in your ears. It's hour 8 in ancient Egypt, and your body's a battlefield, rash, sunburn, and that parasite party in your gut. Now, a new pain stabs at you. Your teeth. That gritty Nile water and sandy bread you choked down earlier? They're waging war on your enamel. You're wincing with every breath, and Egypt's dental care is about to make that crocodile dung paste seem like a spot treatment. You clutch your jaw, a sharp ache pulsing from a molar. The village is bustling, people bartering, kids playing, goats bleeding, but you're focused on the pain. You spot an old man with a tray of tools, grinding something with a stone. He's the local dentist, and his setup looks like a medieval torture kit. Historical fact: ancient Egyptians had some of the earliest dental practices, with evidence of drilled teeth and herbal remedies, but pain was part of the deal. You're desperate, so you point at your mouth, grimacing. He nods, gesturing you to sit on a mat. He peers into your mouth, muttering, and hands you a bitter leaf to chew. It tastes like regret and does nothing for the pain. Then he pulls out a reed brush and a paste that smells like ash and garlic. You're hoping for relief, but he starts scrubbing your teeth with it, and it's like sandpaper on a wound. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians used powdered ox hooves and eggshells as toothpaste. You're gagging, spitting into the dirt, and the kid's back, perched nearby, cackling like you're his favorite comedy show. Joke 1. Your smile's so bad, it could scare a mummy back to the afterlife. The pain's worse now, and the dentist grabs a bronze tool that looks like a tiny chisel. You're panicking, but he's already poking at your molar, scraping away. There's no anesthesia, no Novocaine, just you gripping the mat and praying you don't scream. Historians still argue whether Egyptian dentists were skilled surgeons or just brave guessers. Some skulls show successful fillings, others show infections. You're betting on infection because this guy's not inspiring confidence. Your eyes water as he grinds away, and the crowd's watching like it's a public execution. A modern aside: You'd trade your left arm for a dentist chair and a shot of lidocaine, but Egypt's got neither. Blood's trickling now, and the dentist hands you a cloth to bite on. You're dizzy, the fever mixing with the pain, and that ox hoof paste is burning your tongue. You're remembering that dung remedy and wondering if this is just more torture. The kid tosses a pebble, and it pings off your shoe. You're too weak to glare. Your jaw's throbbing, and you're pretty sure you're one bad scrape away from losing the tooth or worse. Joke 2. Your dental plan's so bad, it's just chew and pray. You laugh, but your mouth's a war zone, and you're losing. You stagger up, spitting blood and ash, waving off the dentist's offer of more leaf. The crowd disperses, and you're left swaying in the dust, your tooth still screaming. The sun's lower, but the heat's relentless, and flies are buzzing around your bloody cloth. You're a mess, fever, rash, and now a mouth that feels like it's been through a rock crusher. You're starting to get why Egyptians prayed to gods like Sekhmet for healing. You're ready to pray to anyone. That vulture's circling again, closer now, like it smells your misery. You're stumbling through the village, clutching your jaw, the pain pulsing with every step. The kid's trailing, still chuckling, and you're wondering if he's the real god of chaos here. Your body's falling apart, and Egypt's healthcare is just piling on the hurt. You're scanning for shade, for water, for anything that doesn't involve sharp tools or animal byproducts. But the village is a maze, and you're lost in every way. You're not surviving this, not with your teeth, your gut, or your sanity intact. The desert's calling, but you're too broken to answer. You're lurching through the village, one hand on your throbbing jaw, the other swatting flies drawn to your bloody cloth. It's hour 9 in ancient Egypt, and you're a walking catastrophe, feverish, rash-covered, and now sporting a mouth that feels like it's been drilled by a sadist. You're starving, your gut's a mess from that Nile water, and the thought of food both tempts and terrifies you. But hunger's winning, and you're about to discover that eating in Egypt is a high-stakes game of chance, where every bite could be your last. You stumble toward a market stall, where a woman's fanning flatbreads over a clay oven. The smell of bread and roasted onions hits you, and your stomach growls like an angry jackal. You point at the bread, hoping to barter, but you've got nothing but your sandy jeans and a bad attitude. She hands you a crusty loaf anyway, maybe out of pity. Historical fact: bread was Egypt's staple, baked in countless varieties and often gritty from stone-ground flour. You tear into it, and it's like chewing gravel. Your aching tooth screams, and you're spitting sand again. Great. More grit. The bread's dense, slightly sour, and you're pretty sure it's got bits of husk or worse. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians sometimes added fly droppings to bread dough, believing it helped fermentation. You're gagging mid-bite, scanning the loaf for anything that moves. The woman's watching, and that kid's back, perched on a crate, smirking like he knows you're doomed. Joke 1. You're so hungry you'd eat a sandal, but this bread's not much better. You choke it down, but your gut's already protesting, and you're wondering if that parasite's throwing a bread party now. You're eyeing a bowl of lentils nearby, but the flies swarming it make you pause. Hygiene's a myth here. Those hands stirring the pot were just scratching a goat. Historians still argue whether Egypt's diet was a nutritional marvel or a parasite playground. Fossilized remains show worms in half the population. You're betting on worms because your stomach's twisting like a wrung-out rag. You try a spoonful of lentils, and they're gritty, too, with a weird aftertaste. A modern aside, you'd kill for a pizza, but the closest thing here is bread with questionable toppings. You're not sure if you're eating dinner or a science experiment. Your jaw's killing you, and every chew's a battle. You're sweating, not just from the heat, but from the fever creeping higher. The market's buzzing, people haggling, dogs sniffing scraps, and flies everywhere. You're trying not to think about the dung paste or the oxhoof toothpaste, but this food's not helping your trust issues. You're starting to get it. Eating here's a gamble, and you're rolling snake eyes. The kid tosses a pebble, and it lands in your lentils. You glare, but he's already scampering off, laughing like a tiny demon. Your body's rebelling. The bread's sitting like a rock, the lentils are plotting revenge, and your tooth's pulsing in time with your heartbeat. You're remembering that Nile water and wondering if you've just doubled down on parasites. Joke 2. Your gut's so mad, it's writing a complaint to the pharaoh. You'd laugh, but you're too busy grimacing, spitting out another grain of sand. The woman offers you a cup of warm beer, Egypt's go-to drink, but it smells like the last batch, and you're not falling for that again. You're swaying now, the market's spinning. The flies are relentless, and that vulture's back overhead, circling like it's got a reservation for your corpse. You're trying to stand, but your legs are jelly, and the crowd's starting to notice your pathetic state. You're not just hungry, you're poisoned, or close to it. Egyptians lived on this diet, somehow, but you're not them. You're a soft modern mess, and this food's just another nail in your coffin. You stumble away from the stall, clutching your stomach, praying you don't puke in front of the kid. The village is no refuge, and the desert's waiting, but you're too sick to care. You're stumbling away from the market, your stomach a churning mess of gritty bread, suspect lentils, and that lingering Nile water regret. It's hour 10 in ancient Egypt, and you're barely upright, your fever spiking, and your tooth throbbing like a war drum. You're desperate for something to settle your gut, and you spot a group of locals sipping from clay cups, laughing like they've cracked life's code. You're hoping for water, but what you get is Egypt's favorite drink, beer. Welcome to breakfast, lunch, and dinner, liquid bread edition. You shuffle closer, and a man hands you a cup, probably because you look like death warmed over. The beer's thick, cloudy, and smells like sourdough left in the sun. You hesitate, but your throat's screaming, and you're too weak to argue. Historical fact: beer was a dietary staple in ancient Egypt, brewed from barley and emmer wheat, consumed by everyone from kids to pharaohs for nutrition and hydration. You take a sip, and it's like drinking chunky soup, gritty, tangy, and warm. Your stomach lurches, and you're pretty sure this is how regrets are bottled. The locals are chugging it like it's Gatorade, but you're gagging, spitting out what feels like a grain of barley or a bug. A quirky tidbit: Egyptian beer was so vital they paid workers with it, and some recipes included dates or honey for flavor. Yours tastes like despair, and you're wondering if this batch was strained through a sandal. That kid's back, of course, slurping his own cup and grinning like he's in on the joke. Joke 1. You're so bad at this, even the beer's judging you. You force another sip, and it's not hydrating. It's just making your gut angrier. Your head's spinning now, the fever mixing with the beer's weird buzz. You're swaying, and the locals are laughing, probably thinking you're a lightweight. Historians still argue whether beer was Egypt's secret to survival or a sanitary compromise. Water was risky, so fermented drinks were safer. Safer doesn't mean safe, though, and your insides are staging a coup. You're remembering that dung paste and oxhoof toothpaste, and now this beer's just another questionable choice. A modern aside, you'd trade your soul for a cold Coke, but Egypt's stuck in the warm beer era, and you're stuck with it. You try to sit, but the ground's spinning, and the beer's sloshing in your cup. Flies are buzzing, drawn to the sticky mess on your hands, and you're swatting them like a drunk ninja. The kid tosses a pebble, and it pings your cup, splashing beer on your jeans. You're too woozy to care. Your tooth's still screaming, your rash is itching, and the beer's doing nothing but adding queasy to your list of problems. Joke 2. You're so pathetic, you're making the flies drunk. You'd laugh, but your stomach's threatening to return the beer, and you're not sure you can handle the embarrassment. The locals are chatting, their voices a blur of unfamiliar words. You're alone in a crowd, a feverish mess with a cup of liquid regret. You're starting to get it. Beer's not just a drink here, it's survival, currency, and culture. But you're not surviving. Your body's shutting down, and this beer's just pouring fuel on the fire. That vulture's circling again, lower now, like it's ready to call dibs. You're wondering how Egyptians drank this daily and lived. They were tough, or maybe just numb. You're neither. You stagger away, spilling half the beer, the locals' laughter fading behind you. The village is a haze of mud, brick, and dust, and you're lost in every sense. Your gut's a volcano, your head's a fog, and the beer's left you worse than before. You're scanning for shade, for water, for anything that doesn't taste like fermented misery. The kid's trailing, still sipping his cup, his eyes glinting with mischief. You're not sure what's worse, the beer, the pain, or the fact that you're Egypt's new laughingstock. The desert's out there, waiting, but you're too sick to face it. You're alive, but you're running on fumes, and this liquid bread's just another reason you're not making it. You're weaving through the village, the sour tang of that gritty beer still clinging, concurrent to your tongue. It's hour 11 in ancient Egypt, and you're a feverish, aching wreck. Your gut's a war zone, your tooth screaming, and that dung paste is flaking off your rash like a bad memory. The village buzzes around you, but you're an outsider, and now you're about to crash headfirst into Egypt's social hierarchy. You're hoping for help, maybe a kind soul, but one wrong step in this rigid class system could land you in chains or worse. You stumble toward a group of linen-clad men, their heads shaved and wigs pristine, gesturing with authority. They're clearly important, maybe priests or officials, and you're desperate for water or shade. You wave weakly, but their eyes narrow, scanning your sandy jeans and beer-stained shirt. Historical fact: ancient Egypt's society was a strict pyramid, with pharaohs at the top, nobles and priests below, and peasants and slaves at the bottom. You're not even on the chart. You're a foreigner, a nobody, and your modern manners are about to make things worse. You try a friendly, "Hey, can you help?" but it's just noise to them. One man barks something, pointing at your shoes. Maybe they're offensive, or maybe he just hates your vibe. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians were obsessed with status symbols like jewelry or clean linen, and your grubby appearance screams lower than a dung beetle. The kid's back, lurking behind a cart, giggling as the men scowl. Joke 1. You're so out of place, they might arrest you for bad fashion. You back away, hands up, but the damage is done. You've insulted someone, and you don't even know how. The crowd's parting now, and a man with a staff, maybe a guard, steps forward. Your heart sinks. You're trying to mime sorry, but he's not buying it. Historians still argue whether Egypt's hierarchy was a stabilizing force or a trap that crushed individuality. Right now, it's a trap, and you're caught. You're remembering that beer you spilled, the bread you fumbled. Every move's a mistake here. A modern aside, you'd kill for a "my bad" emoji, but Egypt's got no chill for apologies. The guard's advancing, and you're shuffling back, your fever making everything blurry. You trip over a basket, spilling onions everywhere, and the crowd gasps. Great, another offense. The guard's shouting now, and you're pretty sure "clueless idiot" is universal. You're scanning for an exit, but the village is a maze, and every face looks hostile. The kid's tossing pebbles again, and you're tempted to chuck one back, but you're too weak. You're weaving through the village, the sour tang of that gritty beer still clinging to your tongue. It's hour 11 in ancient Egypt, and you're a feverish, aching wreck. Your gut's a war zone, your tooth screaming, and that dung paste is flaking off your rash like a bad memory. The village buzzes around you, but you're an outsider, and now you're about to crash headfirst into Egypt's social hierarchy. You're hoping for help, maybe a kind soul, but one wrong step in this rigid class system could land you in chains, or worse. You stumble toward a group of linen-clad men, their heads shaved and wigs pristine, gesturing with authority. They're clearly important, maybe priests or officials, and you're desperate for water or shade. You wave weakly, but their eyes narrow, scanning your sandy jeans and beer-stained shirt. Historical fact: ancient Egypt's society was a strict pyramid, with pharaohs at the top, nobles and priests below, and peasants and slaves at the bottom. You're not even on the chart. You're a foreigner, a nobody, and your modern manners are about to make things worse. You try a friendly, "Hey, can you help?" but it's just noise to them. One man barks something, pointing at your shoes. Maybe they're offensive, or maybe he just hates your vibe. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians were obsessed with status symbols like jewelry or clean linen, and your grubby appearance screams lower than a dung beetle. That kid's back, lurking behind a cart, giggling as the men scowl. Joke 1. You're so out of place, they might arrest you for bad fashion. You back away, hands up, but the damage is done. You've insulted someone, and you don't even know how. The crowd's parting now, and a man with a staff, maybe a guard, steps forward. Your heart sinks. You're trying to mime sorry, but he's not buying it. Historians still argue whether Egypt's hierarchy was a stabilizing force or a trap that crushed individuality. Right now, it's a trap, and you're caught. You're remembering that beer you spilled, the bread you fumbled. Every move's a mistake here. A modern aside, you'd kill for a "my bad" emoji, but Egypt's got no chill for apologies. The guard's advancing, and you're shuffling back, your fever making everything blurry. You trip over a basket, spilling onions everywhere, and the crowd gasps. Great, another offense. The guard's shouting now, and you're pretty sure "clueless idiot" is universal. You're scanning for an exit, but the village is a maze, and every face looks hostile. The kid's tossing pebbles again, and you're tempted to chuck one back, but you're too weak. Your stomach's churning, your tooth's throbbing, and the rash is itching like it's got a personal vendetta. You're not just lost, you're a walking social disaster. You dodge into an alley, heart pounding, the guard's footsteps fading behind you. You're panting, leaning against a mud brick wall, and realizing how deep you're in. Egypt's class system isn't just about wealth. It's about knowing your place, and you don't. You're a foreigner with no status, no skills, no clue. The locals live by rules you can't even guess. Bow to priests, avoid nobles, don't touch sacred stuff. You're breaking them all just by existing. Joke 2. You're so bad at this, they might invent a new caste just for hot messes. Your fever's climbing, and the alley's spinning. You're remembering that dung paste, that oxhoof toothpaste, and now this social blunder. Everything here's a minefield, and you're stomping through it blind. You peek out, and the guard's gone, but the crowd's still buzzing, probably gossiping about the weird stranger. That vulture's circling again, lower now, like it's betting on your next mistake. You're starting to get it. Egypt's hierarchy is a game, and you're losing. Hard. You're dragging yourself forward, the village a blur of dust and glares. The kid's still trailing, his laughter echoing like a curse. You're too sick, too tired, to care. Your body's falling apart, and the social rules are just another layer of hell. You're scanning for shade, for water, for anyone who doesn't look ready to judge you. But Egypt's not forgiving, and you're not fitting in. The desert's out there, the Nile's a trap, and the village is no refuge. You're a nobody here, and that's the most dangerous thing of all. You're slumped in a dusty alley, heart still racing from dodging that guard. The village's judgmental stares burning into your back. It's hour 12 in ancient Egypt, and you're a feverish, gritty mess. Your tooth's throbbing, your rash is on fire, and that beer's staging a revolt in your gut. You're desperate to communicate, to beg for help, but Egypt's language barrier hits you like a brick wall. Hieroglyphs, spoken dialects, and a world of gestures you don't understand are about to make you feel even more like an alien. You peek out of the alley, spotting a woman carrying a water jug. You're parched, so you stagger toward her, pointing at your mouth and miming drinking. She frowns, says something in a rapid, melodic tone, maybe Middle Egyptian, and shakes her head. You try again, saying water in your best desperate voice, but it's just gibberish to her. Historical fact: ancient Egyptians spoke a complex language with regional dialects, and writing systems like hieroglyphs were used for sacred texts, not casual chats. You're not reading anything, and your high school Spanish isn't helping. You're flailing now, waving your arms like a stranded tourist, and she backs away, clutching her jug like you're a thief. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians used hand signs for some communication, but they were specific to tasks like trading or temple rituals. Your wild gestures probably mean crazy person or please arrest me. That kid's back, of course, perched on a wall, laughing so hard he's nearly falling off. Joke 1. You're so bad at this, you might invent charades 5,000 years early. The woman hurries off, and you're left panting, thirstier than ever. You're scanning the crowd, hoping for a friendly face, but everyone's speaking that same impenetrable language. You catch snippets, harsh consonants, flowing vowels, but it's like listening to a radio stuck between stations. You try mimicking a word you heard, something like MW, hoping it means water. A man nearby laughs, and you realize you've just said cat, or worse. Historians still argue whether Egypt's language unified its people or isolated outsiders like you. Right now, it's isolating you, and you're drowning in silence. Your fever's making everything fuzzy, and your throat's so dry you're coughing dust. You're remembering that beer, that bread, and how every choice here backfires. A modern aside, you'd trade your soul for Google Translate, but Egypt's got no Wi-Fi, no apps, just you and your useless tongue. You're stumbling through the village, pointing at jugs, at your mouth, at anything, but people just stare or walk away. The kid's trailing, mimicking your gestures with exaggerated flair, and you're too weak to shoo him off. You collapse against a mud brick wall, your head spinning. The village is alive, vendors shouting, kids playing, donkeys braying, but you're cut off, a ghost in their world. You're trying to piece together a plan, but without words, you're nothing. You're remembering that guard, those priests, and how your outsider status is a neon sign. Joke 2. You're so lost, you might start praying to the god of bad mimes. You'd laugh, but your throat's raw, and you're spitting sand again. A man approaches, maybe a merchant, holding up a loaf. You nod eagerly, hoping to trade, but he's rattling off words you can't follow. You point at your jeans, offering them, but he looks offended and storms off. Great, another social foul. That vulture's circling again, its shadow crossing your face like a bad omen. You're starting to get it. Language isn't just communication here, it's survival, and you're mute. The kid's still there, tossing a pebble that lands in your lap. You glare, but he's already scampering away, his laughter echoing. You're dragging yourself up, the village a blur of noise and glares. Your body's falling apart, fever, rash, tooth, gut, and now your voice is useless. You're scanning for water, for shade, for anyone who'll understand a desperate nod. But Egypt's language is a locked door, and you've got no key. The desert's out there, the Nile's a trap, and the village is a puzzle you can't solve. You're alone, voiceless, and sinking fast. The kid's laughter fades, but the silence is worse. You're not surviving this, not without words. You're slumped against the mud brick wall. The villagers chatter a mocking hum you can't decode. It's hour 13 in ancient Egypt, and you're a wreck, fever spiking, tooth screaming, rash burning, and your gut's a parasite playground. You're desperate for a break, but now you're about to stumble into Egypt's religious minefield. The gods are everywhere, watching, judging, and you're about to learn that every move you make is a potential blasphemy. One wrong step, and you're not just an outsider, you're a heretic. You drag yourself up, spotting a crowd gathered around a small shrine, incense curling into the air. People are bowing, muttering prayers, and offering bread to a statue with a falcon head. Horus, maybe. You're desperate for water, so you shuffle closer, hoping to blend in. Big mistake. Your sandy jeans and clumsy stagger scream, "Not from here," and a priest in a white kilt glares like you've insulted his mom. Historical fact: religion was the heartbeat of ancient Egypt, with over 2,000 gods and daily rituals shaping every aspect of life. You're a walking affront to their divine order. You try mimicking the crowd, bowing awkwardly, but you knock over a clay offering bowl. It shatters, and the crowd gasps like you've cursed the sun. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians believed breaking sacred objects could anger gods, bringing curses like floods or famine. You're not thinking about floods, you're thinking about the priest's staff, which he's raising like a weapon. That kid's back, perched on a ledge, giggling like this is his favorite soap opera. Joke 1. You're so bad at this, you might get smited by a pigeon god. You back away, hands up, but the priest's shouting, and you're pretty sure it's not a blessing. The crowd's closing in, and you're panicking, your fever making everything a blur. You're remembering that language barrier, that guard, and how every mistake here snowballs. Historians still argue whether Egypt's religion unified its people or just controlled them through fear. Right now, it's fear, and you're the target. You're trying to mime sorry, but it's useless. You're a foreigner, and the gods don't take apologies. A modern aside, you'd trade your soul for a chill-out button, but Egypt's gods are all in, and you're all out of luck. You stumble back, tripping over a stray sandal, and the crowd's murmurs turn to shouts. The priest is chanting now, maybe cursing you, and you're wondering if you've just doomed the harvest. Your tooth's throbbing, your rash is itching, and the incense is choking your already raw throat. You're scanning for an exit, but the village is a trap, and the gods are watching. That kid tosses a pebble, and it pings your shoulder. You're too weak to care, but you're starting to think he's the god of chaos in disguise. Joke 2. You're so cursed, even the Nile might spit you out. You're running now, or trying to, your legs wobbling like a newborn calf. The crowd's not chasing, but their stares are heavy, and the priest's voice follows you like a storm cloud. You're ducking into another alley, heart pounding, the shrine smoke still stinging your eyes. You're realizing religion here isn't just faith, it's law, and you're breaking it just by breathing. You're remembering that dung paste, that beer, and how nothing here is simple. The gods demand respect, and you've got none to give. Your body's giving up, fever, pain, hunger, all hitting at once. You're leaning against a wall, gasping. The villages hum a distant roar. That vulture's circling again, its shadow crossing your face like a divine middle finger. You're starting to get it. Egypt's gods aren't just stories, they're the rules, and you're a rule breaker. You're scanning for shade, for water, for anything that doesn't involve angry priests or shattered bowls. The kid's laughter echoes, fainter now, but the god's eyes feel closer. You're not just lost, you're doomed, and the divine wrath is just another reason you're not surviving this. You're dragging yourself forward, the alley a blur of dust and dread. Your body's a wreck, your spirit's worse, and Egypt's gods are no comfort. The desert's out there, the Nile's a trap, and the village is a holy gauntlet. You're a heretic by accident, and survival's looking like a cosmic joke. The kid's pebble rolls past, a final taunt, and you're too broken to flinch. You're alive, but the gods aren't on your side, and that's the worst curse of all. You're stumbling out of the alley, the priest's chants and the crowd's glares still echoing in your fevered brain. It's hour 14 in ancient Egypt, and you're a walking disaster, tooth screaming, rash burning, gut churning, and now you're marked as a potential heretic. You're desperate to disappear, to find a corner of this village where no one's watching. But Egypt's not that kind of place. The pharaoh's shadow looms over everything, and you're about to learn that one wrong move could bring his iron grip crashing down on you. You shuffle toward the village's edge, where mud brick houses give way to fields. You're hoping for peace, But you spot a group of workers bowing low as a man in a golden kilt passes, his guards eyeing everyone like hawks. He's probably a noble, maybe a vizier, but to you, he screams Pharaoh's enforcer. Historical fact: the pharaoh was seen as a living god, his authority absolute, with officials and guards enforcing his will down to the smallest village. You're nobody, and that makes you a target. You try to look invisible, but your sandy jeans and wobbly gait are like a neon sign. You duck behind a stack of grain sacks, but a guard spots you, barking something you can't understand. Your language barrier's biting again, and you're frozen, heart pounding. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians believed the pharaoh's divine power kept chaos at bay, and outsiders like you were potential agents of disorder. You're not chaotic on purpose, but your existence is enough. That kid's back, lurking by a donkey cart, tossing pebbles and grinning like he's rooting for your arrest. Joke 1. You're so suspicious, they might lock you up for breathing wrong. The guard's advancing, his spear glinting, and you're trying to mime, "I'm harmless," but it's not working. You're remembering that broken offering bowl, those priests, and how every mistake here escalates. Historians still argue whether the pharaoh's control was a unifying force or a paranoid tyranny. Right now, it's tyranny, and you're the problem. You're backing away, your fever making you dizzy, and you trip over a stray pot, crashing to the ground. The crowd gasps, and the guards shouting louder. A modern aside: you trade your soul for a lawyer, but Egypt's justice is swift and spear-shaped. You're scrambling up, your tooth throbbing with every heartbeat, your rash itching like a curse. The guard's close now, and you're running or stumbling, your legs barely cooperating. You're weaving through the fields, reeds slapping your face, praying you lose him. The kid's laughter follows, and you're starting to think he's your personal bad luck charm. You're not just an outsider, you're a threat to the pharaoh's order, and that's a death sentence. Joke 2. You're so doomed, they might carve your failure on a pyramid. You'd laugh, but you're gasping, the fever fogging your vision. You dive into a ditch, reeds hiding you, and hold your breath as the guard's footsteps pass. Your body's screaming gut, tooth, rash, all at once, and the ditch smells like mud and despair. You're realizing the pharaoh's not just a king, he's the system, and you're a glitch. You're remembering that dung paste, that beer, and how nothing here forgives. That vulture's circling again, its shadow flickering over the reeds like a royal decree. You're starting to get it. Egypt's not just a place, it's a machine, and you're a cog that doesn't fit. The guard's gone for now, but you're not safe. You're crawling out of the ditch, mud caking your jeans, your fever spiking higher. The village is behind you, but its rules follow. You're scanning for shade, for water, for anything that doesn't involve spears or angry nobles. The kid's still out there, his pebble landing nearby, a taunt you're too weak to answer. You're not just running from guards, you're running from the pharaoh's world, and there's no escape. The desert's ahead, the Nile's a trap, and you're a marked man, even if you don't know why. You're dragging yourself forward, the field's a blur of green and pain. Your body's breaking, your spirit's worse, and Egypt's divine king is no savior. You're a nobody, and that's the most dangerous thing yet. The kid's laughter fades, but the pharaoh's grip lingers, and survival's looking like a fool's bet. You're alive, but every step feels like defiance, and defiance doesn't last long here. You're crawling out of that muddy ditch, reeds clinging to your soaked jeans, the pharaoh's guard hopefully long gone. It's hour 15 in ancient Egypt, and you're a feverish, battered mess. Your tooth's a pulsing nightmare, your rash is a fiery itch, and your gut's staging a full-on rebellion. You're desperate for a moment to breathe, but Egypt's not done with you. Now, you're about to face the backbreaking reality of labor here, and your soft modern body's no match for the grind that keeps this civilization running. You stagger into a field where workers are hauling baskets of grain under the fading sun. They're lean, calloused, and moving like they've done this forever. You're hoping to blend in, maybe earn some food or water, so you mime helping, grabbing a basket. Big mistake. It's heavier than a car battery, and your arms scream as you fumble it, spilling barley everywhere. Historical fact: ancient Egypt's economy relied on grueling manual labor, with farmers and builders working dawn to dusk to feed and glorify the pharaoh's realm. You're not glorifying anything. You're just embarrassing yourself. A foreman barks at you, his whip cracking the air, and you flinch, dropping the basket again. The workers laugh, but it's not friendly. A quirky tidbit: laborers were sometimes paid in beer and bread, but slackers got lashes or worse. You're definitely a slacker, and that whip's looking personal. That kid's back, perched on a nearby wall, tossing pebbles and cackling like you're his favorite failure. Joke 1. You're so weak, they might demote you to official basket dropper. You try lifting again, but your back's screaming, and your fever's making the field spin. Your hands are soft, your muscles untrained, and every move's a lesson in pain. The workers are hauling, digging, and sewing with a rhythm you can't match. You're remembering that Pharaoh's grip, those priests, and how everyone here's part of the machine. Historians still argue whether Egypt's labor system was efficient or just brutal exploitation. Right now, it's brutal, and you're the weak link. You're sweating buckets, your rash burning under the barley dust, and your tooth throbbing like it's got its own heartbeat. A modern aside, you'd trade your soul for a forklift, but Egypt's got nothing but muscle and misery. You're trying to keep up, dragging a sack now, but it's like pulling a mule. The foreman's watching, his whip twitching, and you're praying he doesn't notice your pathetic pace. Your gut's churning. Thanks, now water, and you're pretty sure you're about to collapse. The kid tosses another pebble, and it lands in your sack, adding insult to injury. You're too weak to glare. Joke 2. You're so useless, they might hire the vulture instead. You'd laugh, but your lungs are burning, and you're spitting dust again. The sun's dipping, but the work doesn't stop. You're staggering, your vision blurring, and the workers are still going like human machines. You're realizing this isn't just a job, it's survival, and you're not cut out for it. You're remembering that dung paste, that beer, and how every part of Egypt demands strength you don't have. That vulture's circling again, closer now, like it's clocking your hours. You're starting to get it. Labor here isn't optional. It's life, and you're failing the test. You drop the sack, collapsing to your knees, the foreman's shout ringing in your ears. The workers don't even look, they've got quotas, and you're just a nuisance. Your body's done. Fever, pain, exhaustion all hitting at once. The kid's laughter echoes, and you're wondering if he's the real foreman of your misery. You're scanning for shade, for water, for anything that doesn't involve hauling grain or dodging whips. The field's a blur, the village a distant trap, and the desert's waiting. You're not a worker, you're a wreck, and Egypt's labor grind is just another reason you're not surviving this. You're dragging yourself up, barley dust coating your hands, your back screaming with every move. The foreman's turned away, but you know you're not welcome here. The kid's still there, his pebble landing at your feet like a final jab. You're too broken to care. You're alive, but every ache, every sweat-soaked step is proof you're not built for this world. The Pharaoh's machine keeps turning, but you're a cog that's already cracked. You're staggering away from the barley field, your back screaming from that failed labor stint, every muscle crying for mercy. It's hour 16 in ancient Egypt, and you're a feverish, battered wreck. Your tooth's a pulsing torment, your rash is a fiery itch, and your gut's still plotting revenge. The sun's sinking, casting long shadows, but the danger's not fading. Now, you're about to face Egypt's tiny terrors, scorpions. One wrong step, and these sneaky stingers could turn your bad day into a final one. You're limping through a sandy path, the village's hum fading behind you, hoping for a quiet spot to collapse. The ground's littered with rocks and scrub, and you're too exhausted to watch your step. Then you feel it, a sharp, burning jab in your ankle. You yelp, hopping like a cartoon, and spot the culprit, a small, black scorpion scuttling under a stone. Historical fact: scorpions were a constant threat in ancient Egypt, with stings causing agony or death, and priests used charms to ward them off. You're not charmed. You're cursing, clutching your ankle as the pain spreads like wildfire. Your heart's racing, and you're wondering if this is it. The sting's swelling fast, a red-hot pulse that's making your fever feel like a warm-up. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians worshipped Serket, the scorpion goddess, believing she could protect or punish with her venom. You're not praying. You're panicking, your sweaty hands fumbling at the wound. That kid's back, of course, peering from a dune, tossing pebbles like he's keeping score. Joke 1. You're so unlucky, you'd get stung by a stuffed scorpion. You'd glare, but you're too busy gasping, the pain shooting up your leg. You're trying to remember if scorpions here are deadly or just mean. Your modern brain's screaming hospital, but Egypt's got no ER, just priests and prayers. You're hobbling now, your ankle throbbing with every step, and you're scanning for help. A woman nearby sees you limping and shakes her head, muttering something, maybe a curse, maybe pity. Historians still argue whether Egypt's scorpion remedies, like onion poultices or magic spells, actually worked or just gave false hope. Right now, you're betting on false, because this sting's no joke, and you're feeling woozy. Your vision's blurring, the fever and venom teaming up to make you a stumbling mess. You're remembering that dung paste, that ox-hoof toothpaste, and how Egypt's cures are as bad as the problems. A modern aside, you'd trade your soul for an EpiPen, but the closest thing here is a reed and a prayer. You're swatting at imaginary scorpions now, paranoid every rock's hiding another. The kids' laughter echoes, and you're tempted to lob a stone back, but your arm's too weak, and your legs screaming. You collapse onto a patch of sand, your ankle swollen like a grapefruit, the pain a white-hot pulse. You're trying to breathe, but every gasp feels like a fight. The village is too far, the desert's too empty, and you're alone with your newest enemy. Joke 2. You're so pathetic, the scorpions are holding a victory party. You'd laugh, but your throat's raw, and you're spitting dust again. That vulture's circling closer, its shadow flickering like it's ready to cash in. You're starting to get it. Egypt's dangers aren't just big like crocs. They're small, sneaky, and everywhere. You're clawing at the sand, trying to stand, but your leg's useless, and your fever's fogging your brain. The woman's gone, and the kid's still there, his pebble landing near your hand like a taunt. You're wondering how Egyptians lived with these tiny assassins. They did, with charms, caution, and luck you don't have. Your body shutting down sting, fever, tooth, gut, all hitting at once. You're scanning for shade, for water, for anything that doesn't involve venom or pain. The desert's a blur, the Nile's a distant trap, and you're a sitting duck for Egypt's next surprise. You're dragging yourself forward, half crawling, the scorpion sting a burning reminder of your fragility. The kids' laughter fades, but the pain doesn't. You're alive, but every throb, every stumble, is proof you're not built for this. Egypt's tiny terrors are just another reason you're not surviving this, and the desert's waiting to finish the job. Your ankle's afire, your hopes aflicker, and the vulture's bidding on you to lose. You're half crawling through the desert scrub, your scorpion-stung ankle throbbing like it's got its own heartbeat. It's hour 17 in ancient Egypt, and you're a feverish, broken mess, your tooth screaming, your rash is a fiery torment, and your gut's still waging war. The sun's gone down, but the danger's only shifting. Now, you're about to face Egypt's plague of insects, mosquitoes, flies, and worse, all ready to make your night a buzzing, biting nightmare. You're praying for peace, but these tiny vampires have other plans. You're slumped against a rock. The cool night air is small relief, but the darkness is alive with hums and whines. A mosquito lands on your arm, and you swat it, but another's already biting your neck. The sting's sharp, and you're scratching before you can think. Historical fact: insects were a constant menace in ancient Egypt, with mosquitoes spreading malaria and flies carrying diseases like dysentery. Your Nile water gut's bad enough, now you're a buffet for bugs that could make it worse. You're slapping at your skin, but they're relentless, a cloud of tiny needles. Your ankle's swollen, the scorpion venom pulsing, and these bites are adding insult to injury. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians burned herbs like myrrh to repel insects, and the wealthy slept under net-like cloths. You've got nothing but your flailing hands and a growing collection of welts. That kid's back, lurking in the shadows, tossing pebbles and giggling like your misery's his bedtime story. Joke 1. You're so tasty, the mosquitoes might crown you their pharaoh. You'd glare, but you're too busy swatting, your fever making every bite feel like a branding iron. You're stumbling forward, hoping to outrun the swarm, but the bugs are everywhere, drawn to your sweat and blood. Your rash is screaming under the fresh bites, and you're wondering if malaria's already on the menu. Historians still argue whether Egypt's insect plagues shaped its reliance on herbal remedies or just forced people to tough it out. Right now, you're not tough. You're a whimpering mess, scratching until you bleed. A modern aside, you'd trade your soul for a can of bug spray, but Egypt's got no deed, just you and your edible skin. The air's thick with their buzz, and you're tripping over rocks, your scorpion-stung leg dragging like dead weight. A fly lands in your eye, and you're cursing, blinking through tears. You're remembering that dung paste, that ox-hoof toothpaste, and how Egypt's solutions are as bad as the problems. The kid's pebble hits your shoe, and you're tempted to scream, but your throat's raw, and the bugs would probably fly in. Joke 2. You're so swarmed, you might start a new insect religion. You'd laugh, but your skin's a war zone, and you're spitting dust again. You collapse into a patch of reeds, hoping they'll hide you, but the mosquitoes follow, their bites a steady torture. Your body's shutting down fever, venom, bites, all piling on. That vulture's still circling, its shadow faint in the moonlight, like it's betting on the bugs to finish you. You're starting to get it. Egypt's dangers aren't just scorpions or crocs. They're a relentless swarm, and you're the main course. You're swatting weakly, your hands bloody from scratching. And the kid's laughter echoes, closer now, like he's narrating your collapse. You're trying to stand, but your leg's useless, and the fever's fogging your brain. The reeds are no refuge, they're damp, and the bugs love it. You're scanning for fire, for smoke, for anything to drive them off. But the desert's dark, and the village is too far. You're remembering those workers, that priest, and how everyone here's adapted to this buzzing hell. You haven't. Your welts are burning, your ankles throbbing, and your hope's a distant memory. The kid's pebble lands in the reeds, a final taunt, and you're too weak to flinch. You're dragging yourself forward, half blind, the insect hum a constant drone. The Nile's somewhere out there, the village a fading trap, and the desert's no sanctuary. You're a walking wound, and Egypt's bugs are feasting. Your body's breaking, your spirit's worse, and survival's a cruel joke. The kid's laughter fades, but the bites keep coming, and the night's only getting darker. You're alive, but every itch, every sting, is proof you're not making it through this. You're dragging yourself through the reeds, the mosquito bites burning like tiny wildfires across your skin. It's hour 18 in ancient Egypt, and you're a feverish, limping wreck. Your scorpion-stung ankle throbs, your tooth pulses, and your gut's a churning disaster. The night's cool, but it's no comfort. Now, you're about to face another Egyptian reality check. Clothing. You're hoping your jeans and t-shirt might finally be an asset, but the itchy, sweaty truth of ancient attire is about to make you miss your washer-dryer combo. You're shivering, the desert's chill creeping through your damp clothes. Your jeans are caked with mud and sand, chafing your legs with every step, and your shirt's a sweaty rag, torn from reeds and thorns. You spot a group of locals nearby, their linen kilts and dresses looking light and breezy. You're jealous, so you mime trading, pointing at your shirt. A woman tosses you a linen kilt, but it's coarse, like wearing a burlap sack. Historical fact: ancient Egyptians wore linen made from flax, prized for its breathability but often rough on lower-class skin. You're definitely lower class, and this kilt's no luxury. You swap your shirt for the kilt, but it's no relief. The linen's stiff, scratching your sunburned skin, and it's too short, leaving your legs exposed to more mosquito bites. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians starched their linens with natron to keep them crisp, which made them itchier. You're scratching already, the natron stinging your rash like that dung paste all over again. That kid's back, lurking by a palm, tossing pebbles and snickering at your awkward kilt adjustment. Joke 1. You're so stylish, you might start a new trend, itchy chic. You'd glare, but you're too busy tugging the kilt, which keeps slipping. The linen's no match for the night's chill, and you're shivering harder, your fever making you hot and cold at once. You're realizing your jeans, for all their flaws, were better insulation. Historians still argue whether Egypt's linen obsession was practical or just a status flex. Nobles wore finer weaves, while you're stuck with peasant-grade sandpaper. You're stumbling now, the kilt chafing your thighs, and every step's a reminder of your scorpion sting. A modern aside: you'd trade your soul for a hoodie, but Egypt's got no fleece, just you and your scratchy new look. You're trying to tie the kilt tighter, but your hands are shaky, and the mosquitoes are loving your exposed skin. The locals don't seem fazed, their linens fluttering as they chat. You're wondering how they stand it: the itch, the chill, the bugs. You're remembering that oxhoof toothpaste, that beer, and how nothing here's comfortable. The kid's pebble lands near your foot, and you're tempted to chuck it back, but your arm's too weak. Joke 2. You're so miserable, even the kilt's plotting to escape. You'd laugh, but your teeth are chattering, and you're spitting dust again. You collapse onto a sandy patch, the linen sticking to your sweaty back. Your ankle's swollen, your bites are burning, and the kilt's making everything worse. That vulture's circling again, its shadow faint in the moonlight, like it's judging your fashion fail. You're starting to get it. Clothing here isn't just protection, it's a test, and you're failing. You're scanning for warmth, for shade, for anything that doesn't chafe or itch. The desert's dark, the village is a trap, and your body's shutting down, fever, venom, bites, all at once. The locals are gone now, and you're alone, the kilt a scratchy reminder of your outsider status. You're trying to stand, but your leg's useless, and the fever's fogging your brain. You're remembering those workers, that priest, and how everyone's adapted to this itchy existence. You haven't. Your skin's a war zone, your hope's a flicker, and the kilt's just another layer of misery. The kid's laughter echoes, fainter now, his pebble rolling past like a final jab. You're dragging yourself forward, the linen scraping your skin, the night's chill sinking deeper. You're alive, But every itch, every shiver, is proof Egypt's clothing game is another reason you're not surviving this. You're shivering in your scratchy linen kilt, dragging yourself through the desert's chilly night, the mosquito bites still stinging like a cruel afterthought. It's hour 19 in ancient Egypt, and you're a feverish, limping catastrophe. Your scorpion-stung ankle throbs, your tooth's a relentless ache, and your gut's a parasite-fueled disaster. You're desperate for a break, but now you're about to face Egypt's ultimate deal-breaker. No modern medicine. That fever, those bites, that sting, they're all ticking time bombs, and Egypt's remedies are more likely to finish you than fix you. You're stumbling toward a faint firelight, where a group of locals huddles around a clay pot, stirring something that smells like herbs and despair. Your ankle's swollen to grapefruit size, and your fever's got you seeing double. You point at your leg, grimacing, hoping for help. A man with a shaved head, maybe a healer, nods and hands you a warm, murky brew. Historical fact: ancient Egyptians were pioneers in medicine, using herbs like garlic and honey, but infections often outpaced their cures, with high mortality from simple wounds. You're no pioneer, you're just praying this isn't more dung. You sip the brew, and it's bitter, like licking a moldy tree. Your stomach lurches, but you choke it down, hoping it's not a repeat of that crocodile dung nightmare. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians believed amulets could boost healing, so the healer slips a scarab-shaped stone into your hand, muttering a chant. You're not feeling magical, you're feeling worse, the brew burning your throat. That kid's back, squatting by the fire, tossing pebbles and smirking like he's bet on your collapse. Joke 1. You're so sick, they might prescribe you to the afterlife. You'd glare, but you're too busy gagging, the fever fogging your brain. The healer's watching, but your ankle's still throbbing, and the mosquito bites are itching fiercer than ever. You're starting to sweat through the chills, a bad sign. Historians still argue whether Egypt's herbal remedies were groundbreaking or mostly placebo. Some worked, but infections like yours often won. You're betting on losing, because this brew's doing nothing but making you queasy. A modern aside, you trade your soul for antibiotics, but Egypt's got no pharmacies, just chance and questionable tea. You're swaying now, the firelight blurring, and the locals' whispers sound like a countdown. You're trying to stand, but your leg's useless, and the fever's cooking your thoughts. You're remembering that oxhoof toothpaste, that beer, and how every cure, here's a gamble. The healer offers another sip, but you wave it off, spitting into the sand. Your tooth's screaming, your rash is burning, and the scorpion stings a pulsing fire. The kid's pebble lands in your lap, and you're too weak to care. Joke 2. You're so doomed. The vulture's probably booking a table. You'd laugh, but your throat's raw, and you're coughing dust again. You collapse back, the scarab amulet slipping from your hand. The fire's warmth is fading, and the night's chill is sinking into your bones. That vulture's circling closer, its shadow flickering in the firelight like it's ready to collect. You're starting to get it. Medicine here isn't salvation. It's a roll of the dice, and you're out of luck. You're scanning for water, for shade, for anything that doesn't involve bitter brews or magic rocks. The desert's dark, the village is a trap, and your body's shutting down. Fever, venom, infection, all at once. The locals are ignoring you now, their firelight chat a distant hum. You're alone, the kilt itching, the bites burning, and the fever pulling you under. You're remembering those workers, that priest, and how everyone's tougher than you. Your hope's a ghost, and Egypt's medicine is just another nail in your coffin. The kid's laughter echoes, fainter now, his pebble rolling past like a final taunt. You're dragging yourself forward, half delirious, the brew's aftertaste lingering like regret. You're alive, but every throb, every shiver, is proof that without modern medicine, Egypt's a death sentence, and you're already fading. You're slumped near the dying fire, the bitter herbal brew still sour in your mouth, your scorpion-stung ankle throbbing like a war drum. It's hour 20 in ancient Egypt, and you're a delirious, aching wreck, fever spiking, tooth screaming, mosquito bites burning, and your gut's a parasite nightmare. The night's cold, but you're sweating through chills, and now you're about to face Egypt's suffocating grip of superstition. Every shadow, every sound, feels like an omen, and you're about to learn that in this world, fear of curses and gods rules your every move. You're trying to drag yourself away from the firelight, hoping to hide from prying eyes, but a rustling in the reeds stops you cold. Your fevered brain screams snake or spirit, and you freeze, heart pounding. Historical fact: ancient Egyptians were deeply superstitious, believing in omens, curses, and vengeful spirits that could strike for minor slights, like spilling an offering or stepping on sacred ground. You're guilty of both, and that broken bowl from the shrine is haunting you now. You're clutching that scarab amulet, not because you believe, but because you're desperate. A bat swoops overhead, and you flinch, convinced it's a sign of doom. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians saw certain animals, like bats or owls, as messengers of gods or harbingers of bad luck. You're not reading omens. You're just terrified, your swollen ankle making every twitch feel like a curse. That kid's back, lurking in the dark, tossing pebbles that glint in the moonlight. His grin says he knows you're spooked. Joke 1. You're so jumpy, you'd scream at a sacred cat's yawn. You'd glare, but you're too busy scanning the shadows, your fever turning every breeze into a ghostly whisper. You're stumbling forward, reeds slapping your face, but you're avoiding stones, convinced stepping on the wrong one will summon a demon. Historians still argue whether Egypt's superstitions empowered its people or paralyzed them with fear. Right now, it's paralyzing you. You're remembering that priest's chant, that guard's spear, and how every mistake here feels like a divine middle finger. A modern aside: you trade your soul for a flashlight and some skepticism, but Egypt's got no logic, just gods and terror. Your kilt's itching, your bites are burning, and a hoot in the distance makes you nearly wet yourself. You're muttering apologies to gods you don't know, hoping it'll ward off whatever's watching. Your tooth's throbbing, your ankle's afire, and the fever's got you seeing shapes in the dark. Anubis, maybe, or just your imagination. The kid's pebble lands near your foot, and you yelp, thinking it's a scorpion. His laughter echoes, and you're starting to think he's a curse himself. Joke 2. You're so cursed, the gods are probably taking bets on your next blunder. You'd laugh, but your throat's raw, and you're coughing sand again. You collapse into a sandy hollow, reeds hiding you, but the night's alive with sounds, crickets, owls, your own ragged breathing. You're clutching the scarab tighter, half convinced it's your only shield. That vulture's circling again, its silhouette black against the stars, like it's the god of your personal apocalypse. You're starting to get it. Superstition here isn't just belief, it's survival, and you're failing. You're scanning for safety, for water, for anything that doesn't feel like a divine trap. The desert's dark, the village is a maze, and your body's breaking. Fever, venom, fear, all at once. The kid's laughter fades, but the omens don't. A gust rattles the reeds, and you're whispering sorry to the air, your fevered brain convinced it's a god's warning. You're remembering that dung paste, that beer, and how nothing here's safe. Your hopes a flicker, and Egypt's superstitions are a weight you can't shake. You're dragging yourself forward, half crawling, the scarab digging into your palm. The night's a blur, the Nile's a distant death trap, and you're a paranoid wreck. You're alive, but every shadow, every sound, is proof that Egypt's gods are watching, and they're not on your side. You're huddled in that sandy hollow, the scarab amulet digging into your palm. The night's eerie sounds fueling your superstitious dread. It's hour 21 in ancient Egypt, and you're a feverish, trembling wreck. Your scorpion-stung ankle pulses, your tooth's a screaming agony, and your mosquito bites burn like tiny curses. The desert's dark, but you're desperate to move, to find something: food, water, safety. You're about to stumble into the chaotic heart of an Egyptian marketplace, where bartering without skills or status will leave you penniless and humiliated. You drag yourself toward the village's glow, where torches light a bustling market. Stalls overflow with bread, fish, and linen, and the air hums with shouts and laughter. Your stomach's growling, your throat's a desert, and you're hoping to trade for a scrap of food. You approach a vendor with a pile of onions, pointing at your mouth and miming hunger. He scowls, rattling off words you can't understand, and shoves a small loaf at you, expecting payment. Historical fact: ancient Egypt's economy relied heavily on bartering, with goods like grain or linen serving as currency, and foreigners often struggled to navigate it. You've got nothing but your itchy kilt and a scarab you're too scared to part with. You offer the amulet, but the vendor laughs, tossing it back like it's worthless. Your language barrier's a brick wall, and your clumsy gestures only make him angrier. A quirky tidbit. Egyptians sometimes used deben, a unit of copper weight, to standardize trade. But you're not weighing anything. You're just floundering. That kid's back, weaving through the crowd, tossing pebbles and grinning like he's betting on your failure. Joke 1. You're so bad at bartering, they might trade you for a rotten fish. You'd glare, but you're too busy dodging the vendor's swat, your fever making the market spin. The crowd's pushing now, and you're shoved toward another stall, this one with dried fish. You're desperate, so you try again, pointing at your kilt as a trade. The fishmonger shakes his head, muttering what's probably get lost. Historians still argue whether Egypt's markets were vibrant hubs or cutthroat traps for the unskilled. Right now, it's a trap, and you're the prey. Your ankles throbbing, your bites are itching, and your tooths pulsing with every heartbeat. A modern aside, you trade your soul for a credit card, but Egypt's got no swipe machines, just you and your empty hands. You're swaying, the torch is blurring, and a stray dog snatches the loaf you're still holding. The crowd laughs, and you're too weak to chase it. The kid's pebble lands in your kilt, and you're starting to think he's the god of petty torment. You're remembering that priest's curse, that guard's spear, and how every step here's a misstep. Joke 2. You're so pathetic, the market's charging you for breathing space. You'd laugh, but your throat's raw, and you're coughing dust again. You're pushed out of the market, empty-handed, the vendor's shouts fading behind you. Your body's shutting down. Fever, venom, hunger, all hitting at once. That vulture's circling again, its shadow flickering in the torchlight like it's tallying your losses. You're starting to get it. The marketplace isn't just trade, it's a battlefield, and you're unarmed. You're scanning for shade, for water, for anything that doesn't involve angry vendors or stolen bread. The desert's dark, the Nile's a trap, and the village is a gauntlet you can't navigate. You collapse against a mud brick wall, your kilt itching, your bites burning, and your stomach a hollow ache. The kid's still there, his laughter echoing as he tosses another pebble. You're too broken to care. You're remembering that dung paste, that beer, and how nothing here gives without taking more. Your hope's a ghost, and Egypt's market is just another door slammed in your face. You're dragging yourself forward, half delirious. The markets hum a cruel reminder of your failure. You're alive, but every growl, every throb, is proof you're not surviving this, not without something to trade. You're slumped against the mud brick wall, the marketplace's chaotic hum fading into the night, your empty stomach growling like a betrayed beast. It's hour 22 in ancient Egypt, and you're a delirious, broken shell, your scorpion-stung ankles a throbbing mess, your tooths a screaming torment, and your mosquito bites burn like tiny betrayals. The desert's chill is sinking into your bones, and you're about to discover that Egypt's nights are as brutal as its days. The cold's creeping in, and your itchy kilt's no match for a climate that flips from furnace to freezer. You're shivering, the linen kilt flapping uselessly against your legs, offering zero warmth. The stars are sharp overhead, but the air's biting, dropping to what feels like 40 degrees Fahrenheit. You're used to cozy blankets and thermostats, not this bone-deep chill. Historical fact. Ancient Egyptians faced stark temperature swings, with desert nights often plunging 50 degrees from daytime highs, and most relied on wool cloaks or fires to survive. You've got neither, just a kilt and a fever that's making you sweat through the shivers. You're scanning for shelter, but the village is a dark maze, and the desert's an open fridge. You stumble toward a cluster of rocks, hoping to block the wind, but a gust hits, and you're shaking like a leaf. Your ankles swollen, dragging like a dead weight, and your bites are itching fiercer in the cold. A quirky tidbit. Egyptians sometimes slept in tight groups or used heated stones to ward off the night's bite. You're alone, and the only thing hot is your fevered forehead. That kid's back, lurking in the shadows, tossing pebbles that clink against the rocks. His grin says he's warmer than you. Joke 1. You're so cold, you might freeze into a budget sphinx. You'd glare, but your teeth are chattering, and you're too weak to care. You're huddling against a rock, but it's cold as ice, sucking the heat from your back. Your kilt's useless, and the sand's no blanket. It's gritty and chilled, sticking to your sweaty skin. Historians still argue whether Egypt's climate forced its people into communal living or just made them experts at endurance. Right now, you're enduring nothing. You're a shivering mess, your fever spiking as the cold sinks deeper. A modern aside, you'd trade your soul for a space heater, but Egypt's got no outlets, just you and your chattering jaw. Your body's a battlefield, venom, infection, hunger, and now hypothermia is knocking. You're remembering that dung paste, that marketplace flop, and how every hour here's a new way to suffer. A coyote howls in the distance, and you flinch, your superstitious brain screaming omen. The kid's pebble lands in your lap, and you're tempted to scream, but your throat's raw, and the cold's stealing your voice. Joke 2. You're so frozen, the vulture's probably roasting marshmallows. You'd laugh, but you're coughing dust, and your hope's a distant flicker. You're trying to curl tighter, but your ankle's screaming, and the mosquito bites are burning despite the chill. That vulture's circling again, its silhouette stark against the stars, like it's betting on the cold to finish you. You're starting to get it. Egypt's nights aren't just dark, they're deadly, and you're not equipped. You're scanning for fire, for warmth, for anything that doesn't feel like frostbite. The desert's a void, the Nile's a distant trap, and the village is too far. You're remembering those workers, that priest, and how everyone's tougher than you. The kid's laughter echoes, fainter now, as he tosses another pebble. You're too numb to flinch. Your body's shutting down, fever, venom, cold, all at once. You're dragging yourself forward, half crawling, the kilt flapping like a cruel joke. The rocks offer no shelter, and the night's only getting colder. Your breath's a faint cloud, your hope's a ghost, and Egypt's chilly bite is just another reason you're not surviving this. You're alive, but every shiver, every throb, is proof you're fading fast, and the desert's ready to claim you. You're shivering in the desert's icy grip, curled against that cold rock, the night's chill sinking deeper into your fevered bones. It's hour 23 in ancient Egypt, and you're a trembling, broken wreck, your scorpion-stung ankles a pulsing agony, your tooths a screaming torment, and your mosquito bites burn through the frost. The stars mock your misery, and now you're about to face the claustrophobic reality of Egyptian housing. You're desperate for shelter, but the mud brick homes you're stumbling toward are no cozy refuge. They're dark, cramped mazes that'll test your already fraying sanity. You're dragging yourself toward the village's edge, where mud brick houses huddle like silent sentinels. Your kilt's flapping, useless against the cold, and you're praying for warmth, a bed, anything. You spot a low doorway and duck inside, hoping for mercy. The air's thick, smelling of dust, straw, and sweat. Historical fact: ancient Egyptian homes were built from sun-dried mud brick, often small and windowless to keep out heat, with families sharing 1 or 2 rooms. You're not sharing, you're intruding, and the darkness hits you like a wall. It's pitch black, and your fevered brain screaming trap. You're groping forward, banging your shin on a clay pot. The room's tiny, maybe 10 feet square, with a straw mat and a loom in the corner. Your ankle's throbbing, and the low ceiling forces you to hunch, your back screaming from that labor stint. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians slept on raised platforms or the floor, using headrests that look like torture devices. You're not sleeping, you're panicking, the walls closing in like a tomb. That kid's back, lurking outside, tossing pebbles that clink against the doorway. His giggle says he knows you're screwed. Joke 1. You're so lost, you might get claustrophobia in a coffin. You'd glare, but you're too busy bumping into things, your bites itching fiercer in the stuffy air. The darkness is suffocating, and you're tripping over a basket, your tooth pulsing with every stumble. You're realizing there's no fire, no light, just you and the stale air. Historians still argue whether these homes were practical or just survival boxes, cool by day, freezing by night. Right now, it's freezing, and you're shivering harder, your fever making you hot and cold at once. A modern aside, you'd trade your soul for a lamp and a mattress, but Egypt's got no IKEA, just you and this mud brick nightmare. You're trying to sit, but the straw mat's prickly, and something scurries over your hand. A rat, maybe. You yelp, flailing, and knock over another pot. The noise echoes, and you're praying no one's home to kick you out. Your body's shutting down venom, infection, cold, all piling on. The kid's pebble lands inside, rolling across the floor, and you're tempted to scream, but your throat's raw, and the dark swallowing your voice. Joke 2. You're so pathetic, the rats are probably renting you out. You'd laugh, but you're coughing dust, and your hope's a ghost. You're curling up on the mat, the walls looming like they're alive. That vulture's out there, its shadow gone but its presence lingering, like it's betting on the house to crush you. You're starting to get it. Egypt's homes aren't sanctuaries, they're tests, and you're failing. You're scanning for light, for warmth, for anything that doesn't feel like a crypt. The desert's cold, the Nile's a trap, and this house is a box of dread. You're remembering that dung paste, that marketplace, and how nothing here's safe. The kid's laughter echoes, fainter now, his pebble a final taunt. You're huddling tighter, your ankle throbbing, your bites burning, and the fever pulling you under. The darkness is heavy, the air thicker, and you're wondering how anyone lived like this. They did, with grit you don't have. Your body's breaking fever, pain, fear, all at once. You're dragging yourself toward the doorway, half delirious, the match straw sticking to your kilt. The village is out there, but it's no refuge. You're alive, but every throb, every shiver, is proof that Egypt's mud brick maze is just another reason you're not surviving this. The night's a blur, and you're fading fast. You're crawling out of that suffocating mud brick house, the straw mat's prickles still clinging to your itchy kilt. It's hour 24 in ancient Egypt, and you're a delirious, shivering wreck, your scorpion-stung ankles a throbbing nightmare, your tooths a pulsing agony, and your fever's spiking through the desert's chill. You're desperate for open air, but the Nile's flood season is about to turn your escape into a muddy, chaotic fiasco. The river's overflow is no gentle rain. It's a force that reshapes the land and your dwindling chances of survival. You stumble toward the village's edge, the night air sharp against your burning skin. The ground's turning soft, squelching under your feet, and you smell the Nile's earthy tang. The river's rising, its banks swollen from seasonal floods. Historical fact: ancient Egypt's flood season, called Ake, lasted from June to September, depositing fertile silt but also flooding fields and homes, disrupting life for months. You're not farming, you're just trying to stay dry, but the mud's sucking at your feet, and your swollen ankles screaming with every step. You're slipping, your kilt soaked and heavy as you reach a field now half submerged. The water's cold, seeping into your wounds, and you're remembering that crocodile chase from way back. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians celebrated the flood as a gift from Hapi, the river god, but also dreaded its unpredictability. Too much water meant disaster. You're not celebrating, you're panicking, your fever making the muddy chaos feel like a fever dream. That kid's back, perched on a dry mound, tossing pebbles and grinning like he's enjoying your swampy misery. Joke 1. You're so stuck, they might name a mudflat after you. You're waiting now, the water knee-deep, and something brushes your leg, reads, you hope, but your superstitious brain screams, snake. You flail, splashing, and nearly faceplant in the muck. Historians still argue whether the flood season was Egypt's lifeblood or a logistical nightmare. Crops thrived, but disease and displacement spiked. Right now, it's a nightmare, and you're the star. Your bites are burning, your tooths throbbing, and the cold water's making your fevered shivers worse. A modern aside, you'd trade your soul for a pair of rain boots, but Egypt's got no gear, just you and this soggy hell. You're trying to climb a rise, but the mud's slick, and you're sliding back, your kilt caked with sludge. The kid's pebble splashes nearby, and you're too weak to curse. You're remembering that dung paste, that dark house, and how every hour here's a new trap. The floods turned the land into a maze, and you're lost in every way. Joke 2. You're so muddy, the Nile might hire you as its new bank. You'd laugh, but your throat's raw, and you're coughing up grit again. You collapse onto a soggy patch, the water lapping at your legs, your body shutting down, venom, infection, cold, all at once. That vulture's circling again, its shadow faint in the moonlight, like it's betting on the flood to finish you. You're starting to get it. The Nile's flood isn't just water, it's chaos, and you're drowning in it. You're scanning for dry land, for warmth, for anything that doesn't involve sinking or snakes. The desert's a chill void, the village is underwater, and you're a muddy wreck. The kid's laughter echoes, closer now, his pebble landing in the water with a plop. You're too numb to flinch. You're remembering those workers, that priest, and how they navigated this flood with grit you don't have. Your hope's a flicker, and the flood's a force you can't fight. You're dragging yourself forward, half swimming, the kilt dragging like a wet anchor. The night's a blur, the Nile's a beast, and you're fading fast. You're alive, but every throb, every shiver, is proof that Egypt's flood season is just another reason you're not surviving this. The mud's your grave, and the vulture's waiting. You're half swimming, half crawling through the Nile's muddy floodwaters, the cold muck clinging to your soaked kilt like a second skin. It's hour 25 in ancient Egypt, and you're a delirious, shivering catastrophe, your scorpion-stung ankles a throbbing wreck, your tooths a screaming torment, and your fever's raging through the chill. The floods turned the world into a swamp, but now you're about to face Egypt's wilder threats, animals. Hippos, lions, and other beasts roam too close, and you're about to learn that the flood doesn't just disrupt, it unleashes predators who see you as prey. You're dragging yourself onto a soggy rise, the water lapping at your knees, when a low grunt freezes you. In the moonlight, you spot a massive shape in the shallows, a hippo, its eyes glinting like whetstones. Your heart's pounding, you're still haunted by that crocodile chase way back. Historical fact: hippos were among Egypt's deadliest animals, killing more people than crocodiles with their territorial rage, especially during flood season when they roamed flooded fields. You're not territorial, you're terrified, your swollen ankle making escape a pipe dream. You're inching back, but the mud's slick, and you slip, splashing loudly. The hippo snorts, its head swinging your way, and you're praying it's not in a mood. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians revered hippos as symbols of chaos, worshipping Tarit for protection, but also hunted them to curb their violence. You're not hunting, you're hyperventilating, your fever making the beast look like a demon. That kid's back, perched on a dry ridge, tossing pebbles and giggling like he's got a front row seat to your doom. Joke 1. You're so doomed, the hippo might name its next charge after you. You're scrambling now, your kilt heavy with mud, but another sound stops you, a distant roar, maybe a lion, drawn to the flood's chaos. Your superstitious brain screaming God's wrath, and you're wondering if that broken offering bowl cursed you for real. Historians still argue whether Egypt's wildlife was a manageable threat or a constant terror. Art shows hunts, but grave show maulings. Right now, it's terror, and you're the target. Your bites are burning, your tooths throbbing, and the cold water's sapping your strength. A modern aside, you'd trade your soul for a tranquilizer gun. But Egypt's got no zoos, just you and this angry hippo. You're crawling away, reeds slapping your face, but the hippo's still watching, and that roar's getting closer. The kid's pebble splashes nearby, and you're too weak to curse. You're remembering that dung paste, that dark house, and how every hour here's a new way to die. Joke 2. You're so tasty, the animals are probably holding a buffet. You'd laugh, but your throat's raw, and you're coughing mud. That vulture's circling again, its shadow stark in the moonlight, like it's betting on the hippo to win. You collapse behind a clump of reeds, your ankle screaming, your fever spiking. The hippo's grunt fades, but the lion's roar lingers, and you're praying you're not on its menu. Your body's shutting down venom, infection, cold, all at once. You're starting to get it. Egypt's animals aren't just wildlife, they're executioners, and the flood's their stage. You're scanning for dry land, for safety, for anything that doesn't have teeth or claws. The desert's a frozen void, the village is underwater, and you're a sitting duck. The kid's laughter echoes, fainter now, his pebble sinking in the muck. You're too numb to flinch. You're remembering those workers, that priest, and how they face these beasts with spears and prayers. You've got neither. Your hope's a ghost, and Egypt's predators are circling. You're dragging yourself forward, half delirious, the kilt dragging like a sodden curse. The night's a blur, the Nile's a death trap, and you're fading fast. You're alive, but every throb, every grunt, is proof that Egypt's animals are just another reason you're not surviving this. The flood's a stage, and you're the prey. You're huddled behind those soggy reeds, the hippo's grunt fading, but that lion's roar still echoing in your fevered mind. It's hour 26 in ancient Egypt, and you're a delirious, trembling wreck, your scorpion-stung ankles a throbbing disaster, your tooths a pulsing nightmare, and your mosquito bites burn through the flood's chill. The muddy water's lapping at your knees, and now you're about to face Egypt's brutal justice system. One misstep in this unforgiving world, and minor crimes bring punishments that make your scorpion sting feel like a love tap. You're dragging yourself toward drier ground, the village's torchlights flickering in the distance. Your kilt's a sodden mess, and you're desperate for warmth, so you stumble toward a pile of straw near a house, hoping to rest. Big mistake. A man spots you, shouting, and before you know it, 2 guards are charging, their spears glinting. You've just stolen straw, barely a handful, but in Egypt, that's a crime. Historical fact. Ancient Egypt's legal system was harsh, with theft, even petty, punished by beatings, fines, or forced labor, especially for outsiders like you. You're not pleading your case, you're panicking, your swollen ankle making running a fantasy. You're waving your hands, trying to mime sorry, but the guards aren't buying it. One grabs your arm, wrenching it, and you yelp, your tooth's pain flaring. A quirky tidbit. Egyptians sometimes branded thieves with marks to shame them publicly, a scarlet letter for the Nile. You're not branded, yet, but the guard's dragging you toward a crowd, and that kid's back, tossing pebbles and grinning like he's booked seats for your trial. Joke 1. You're so bad at crime, they might punish you for incompetence. You'd glare, but you're too busy stumbling, your fever turning the torchlight into a blurry haze. The crowd's gathering, and the guards are shouting, probably listing your sins: straw theft, shrine breaking, existing. You're remembering that language barrier, that priest curse, and how every move here's a trap. Historians still argue whether Egypt's justice was fair or just a tool to keep order. Records show swift trials, but bias against foreigners was rampant. Right now, it's biased, and you're the scapegoat. A modern aside, you'd trade your soul for a lawyer, but Egypt's got no defense attorneys, just you and a crowd baying for blood. Your bites are burning, your kilt's itching, and the guard's grip is bruising. They shove you to your knees, and a whip cracks nearby, making you flinch. Your ankle's screaming, your fever's spiking, and you're praying they don't break out the branding iron. The kid's pebble lands in the dirt, and you're too weak to care. You're trying to gesture innocent, but it's useless. Your outsider status is the real crime. Joke 2. You're so doomed, they might invent a new punishment just for you. You'd laugh, but your throat's raw, and you're coughing mud. That vulture's circling again, its shadow flickering in the torchlight, like it's rooting for the whip. You're swaying, the crowd's jeers a dull roar, and the guard raises his whip. Your body's shutting down venom, infection, fear, all at once. You're starting to get it. Egypt's justice isn't about fairness, it's about control, and you're uncontrollable. You're scanning for escape, for mercy, for anything that doesn't involve pain or shame. The desert's a frozen void, the Nile's a flooded trap, and the village is a courtroom with no appeal. The kid's laughter echoes, closer now, his pebble rolling past like a taunt. You're bracing for the lash, your heart pounding, but a shout from the crowd pauses the guard. Maybe a distraction, maybe a worse fate. You're too delirious to tell. You're remembering that dung paste, that marketplace, and how nothing here forgives. Your hope's a ghost, and Egypt's punishment is a hammer you can't dodge. You're dragging yourself up, half collapsing, the kilt sticking to your muddy skin. The night's a blur, the crowd's a mob, and you're fading fast. You're alive, but every throb, every jeer, is proof that Egypt's harsh justice is just another reason you're not surviving this. The whip's shadow looms, and you're out of pleas. You're kneeling in the torchlit dirt, the guard's whip still raised, the crowd's jeers a pounding drum in your fevered skull. It's hour 27 in ancient Egypt, and you're a delirious, broken husk, your scorpion-stung ankle's a throbbing ruin, your tooth's a screaming agony, and your mosquito bites burn like tiny betrayals. The flood's mud clings to your kilt, and now you're about to face one of Egypt's darkest realities. Childbirth's deadly odds. You're not pregnant, but the screams from a nearby house pull you into a brutal truth. Surviving here means facing risks you can't even fathom, and they're shaking you to your core. The guard's distracted by the cries, and you're forgotten for a moment, still trembling from the whip's threat. The screams are raw, desperate, coming from a mud brick house where women are rushing in with cloths and herbs. Historical fact: childbirth in ancient Egypt was perilous, with high maternal and infant mortality due to infections and limited medical knowledge, despite midwives' skills. You're a bystander, but the sound's chilling, and your fevered brain's painting nightmares. Your own pain feels trivial compared to this. You're crawling away, the guard's whip forgotten, drawn to the house by some morbid pull. You peer through the low doorway, and a midwife's chanting, smearing a woman's belly with what smells like that dung paste you know too well. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians used crocodile dung and honey as birthing aids, believing they eased labor or warded off evil spirits. You're gagging at the memory, and that kid's back, lurking outside, tossing pebbles and watching you like he's betting on your next collapse. Joke 1. You're so spooked, you might faint before the baby's born. You'd glare, but you're too weak, your ankle's fire spreading with every move. The screams peak, then fade, and the crowd outside holds its breath. You're shaking, your tooth throbbing, your bites itching, and the fever's making the scene surreal. Historians still argue whether Egypt's birthing practices were advanced or desperate. Texts describe spells and herbs, but sepsis was a silent killer. Right now, it's desperate, and you're feeling it in your bones. You're remembering that oxhoof toothpaste, that marketplace flop, and how every solution here's a gamble. A modern aside, you'd trade your soul for a sterile hospital, but Egypt's got no epidurals, just you and this raw, terrifying reality. You're backing away, the midwife's chants haunting you, but a sharp cry, a baby's, cuts the night. Relief? Maybe, but the mother's still groaning, and you're not sticking around to learn her fate. Your body's shutting down venom, infection, fear, all at once. The kid's pebble lands near your foot, and you're too numb to flinch. You're starting to get it. Childbirth here isn't just life, it's a roll of the dice, and the odds are brutal. Joke 2. You're so rattled, you might swear off kids for 5 millennia. You'd laugh, but your throat's raw, and you're coughing mud again. You're staggering now, the village a blur of torchlight and dread. That vulture's circling closer, its shadow flickering like it's drawn to the house's pain. You're scanning for safety, for warmth, for anything that doesn't involve screams or blood. The desert's a frozen void. The Nile's a flooded trap, and the village is a crucible of risk. You're remembering those workers, that priest, and how everyone here is tougher than you. Your hopes a flicker, and childbirth's deadly stakes are a weight you can't shake. You're dragging yourself forward, half delirious, the kilt dragging like a muddy curse. The kid's laughter echoes, fainter now, his pebble rolling past like a taunt. Your ankles screaming, your fevers pulling you under, and the screams linger in your ears. You're not part of this birth, but its danger feels personal, a reminder of how fragile life is here. The night's a blur, the crowd's dispersing, and you're fading fast. You're alive, but every throb, every echo, is proof that Egypt's childbirth risks are just another reason you're not surviving this. The village hums, but you're a ghost, slipping away. You're stumbling away from the mud brick house, the mother's groans and the baby's cry still ringing in your ears like a haunting lullaby. It's hour 28 in ancient Egypt, and you're a delirious, shivering wreck, your scorpion-stung ankles a throbbing ruin, your tooths a pulsing torment, and your fevers raging through the night's chill. The flood's mud clings to your kilt, and now you're about to face Egypt's baffling timekeeping. With no clocks, no calendars you understand, scheduling your survival is a nightmare, and you're lost in a world where time itself is a puzzle. You're dragging yourself toward the village's edge, desperate for rest, but the sky's no help. Stars shift in patterns you can't read, and the moon's just a smug glow. You're trying to guess how long you've got till dawn, but your fevered brain's a fog. Historical fact: ancient Egyptians tracked time using sundials by day and star clocks at night, dividing hours unevenly based on seasons, a system precise for them but incomprehensible to you. You're not tracking anything, you're just staggering, your swollen ankle dragging, hoping the sun brings relief. You spot a man marking a clay tablet by torchlight, maybe a scribe noting the flood's progress. You mime when's morning, but he frowns, rattling off words you can't grasp. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians used water clocks for nighttime tasks, dripping water to measure hours, but you're not dripping anything but sweat and mud. That kid's back, lurking by a wall, tossing pebbles and grinning like he knows time's laughing at you. Joke 1. You're so lost, you might invent the snooze button out of desperation. You'd glare, but you're too weak, your bites itching fiercer in the damp air. You're swaying now, the village a blur of torches and shadows. You're trying to count hours, but your pain, ankle, tooth, gut, makes every minute eternal. Historians still argue whether Egypt's timekeeping was a marvel of astronomy or a clunky ritual tied to priest whims. Right now, it's clunky, and you're the fool without a sundial. You're remembering that dung paste, that hippo's grunt, and how every hour here's a new way to suffer. A modern aside, you'd trade your soul for a wristwatch, but Egypt's got no batteries, just you and this timeless chaos. You collapse onto a sandy patch, the cold biting through your kilt, your fever spiking as the stars mock you. You're trying to plan, find water, dodge guards, but without time, you're just flailing. The kid's pebble lands near your hand, and you're too numb to flinch. You're starting to get it. Time here isn't just hours, it's a rhythm you can't join, and you're offbeat. Joke 2. You're so out of sync, the Nile might flood just to spite you. You'd laugh, but your throat's raw, and you're coughing dust again. That vulture's circling closer, its shadow flickering in the torchlight, like it's counting down your final moments. You're scanning for signs, dawn, a star, anything to anchor you. But the night's a void, and your body's shutting down, venom, infection, cold, all at once. You're remembering those workers, that childbirth scream, and how everyone here's synced to a clock you can't see. Your hope's a ghost, and Egypt's timekeeping is a maze you can't navigate. You're dragging yourself forward, half delirious, the kilt sticking to your muddy skin. The kid's laughter echoes, fainter now, his pebble rolling past like a taunt. You're trying to stand, but your ankle's useless, and the fever's pulling you under. The village hums, but you're a stranger to its rhythm, lost in a world where time's a god you don't worship. The night's a blur, the Nile's a distant trap, and you're fading fast. You're alive, but every throb, every shiver, is proof that Egypt's timeless chaos is just another reason you're not surviving this. The stars keep turning, and you're out of time. You're slumped on that sandy patch, the desert's chill gnawing at your fevered bones, the stars above mocking your inability to read their silent clock. It's hour 29 in ancient Egypt, and you're a delirious, trembling husk, your scorpion-stung ankles a throbbing catastrophe, your tooths a screaming torment, and your mosquito bites burn like tiny curses. The flood's mud clings to your kilt, and now you're about to face Egypt's cold welcome for foreigners. As an outsider, you're not just lost, you're a target, and the suspicion and hostility around you are tightening like a noose. You're dragging yourself toward the village's flickering torchlights, hoping for a shred of kindness, water, shelter, anything. But the faces you pass are hard, eyes narrowing at your muddy kilt and wobbly gait. You're a stranger, and that's a crime here. Historical fact: ancient Egypt was wary of foreigners, often viewing them as potential spies or bringers of chaos, especially during turbulent times like flood season. You're not spying, you're barely surviving, but your jeans-tainted vibe and clumsy gestures scream trouble. You try waving at a woman with a jug, but she turns away, clutching it like you're a thief. You're swaying, your fever spiking, and a man nearby spits in the dirt, muttering what's probably "go home." A quirky tidbit: Egyptians sometimes shaved foreigners' heads to mark them as outsiders, a public shaming you're lucky to avoid, so far. That kid's back, lurking by a cart, tossing pebbles and grinning like he's the village's unofficial xenophobe. Joke 1. You're so unwelcome, they might deport you to the afterlife. You'd glare, but you're too weak, your ankles fire spreading with every step, your bites itching in the damp air. You're stumbling through the village, but the crowd parts like you're a plague. A guard, maybe the one from the straw incident, eyes you, his spear twitching. You're remembering that priest's curse, that whip shadow, and how your outsider status is a neon sign. Historians still argue whether Egypt's distrust of foreigners was pragmatic or just cultural paranoia. Records show trade with neighbors, but also walled fortresses. Right now, it's paranoia, and you're the problem. A modern aside, you'd trade your soul for a passport, but Egypt's got no embassies, just you and a village that wants you gone. You're trying to mime help, but your gestures are met with glares or laughter. A woman tosses a rotten onion at your feet, and the kid's pebble lands beside it, his cackle echoing. You're too numb to flinch. Your body's shutting down, venom, infection, cold, all at once. You're starting to get it. Being a foreigner here isn't just lonely, it's lethal, and you're marked. Joke 2. You're so hated, even the vulture's taking sides. You'd laugh, but your throat's raw, and you're coughing mud again. You collapse against a mud brick wall, the torchlight blurring, the crowd's whispers a dull roar. That vulture's circling closer, its shadow stark against the stars, like it's betting on the village to finish you. You're scanning for safety, for warmth, for anyone who'll see you as human. The desert's a frozen void, the Nile's a flooded trap, and the village is a wall of suspicion. You're remembering that dung paste, that childbirth scream, and how nothing here welcomes you. Your hope's a ghost, and Egypt's hostility is a blade you can't dodge. You're dragging yourself forward, half-crawling, the kilt sticking to your muddy skin. The kid's laughter fades, but the glares don't. You're trying to stand, but your ankle's useless, and the fever's pulling you under. The village hums, but you're an intruder, a threat no one trusts. The night's a blur, the guard's spear glints, and you're fading fast. You're alive, but every throb, every hiss, is proof that Egypt's cold welcome is just another reason you're not surviving this. The crowd's closing in, and you're out of places to hide. You're slumped against the mud brick wall, the village's hostile glares burning into your fevered skin, the guard's spear glinting like a final warning. It's hour 30 in ancient Egypt, and you're a delirious, broken shell. Your scorpion-stung ankle's a throbbing ruin, your tooth's a screaming agony, and your mosquito bites are a fiery torment. The flood's mud clings to your kilt, and now, as dawn creeps over the horizon, you're facing the final hour's reflection. Survival was never an option. You're about to realize that Egypt's relentless gauntlet, its climate, creatures, and culture, has crushed you, and this last moment is a mirror to your fragility. The sky's turning pink, but the chill lingers, your shivering body too weak to feel the sun's faint warmth. You're surrounded by the village's hum, people stirring, donkeys braying, the Nile's flood glinting in the distance. Historical fact: ancient Egyptians thrived in this harsh land through resilience and adaptation, building a civilization that lasted millennia despite daily perils. You're a modern softy, undone by one day's trials, sand, crocs, dung, and distrust. You're trying to stand, but your ankle buckles, and you collapse, the mud sucking at your kilt like Egypt's final embrace. You're reflecting now, your fevered mind replaying every misstep. That Nile water you drank, that offering bowl you broke, that straw you stole. A quirky tidbit: Egyptians believe the afterlife judged your heart's weight against a feather. Yours would sink from sheer incompetence. That kid's back, perched on a wall, tossing one last pebble that lands in your lap. His grin says he knew you'd fail. Joke 1. You're so wrecked, the gods might reject you for being bad at dying. You'd glare, but you're too weak, your bite's burning, your tooth throbbing, and the fever pulling you under. You're seeing it clearly now. Egypt's not just a place. It's a crucible, forged by heat, flood, and faith, where only the strong or cunning survive. Historians still argue whether Egypt's endurance was luck or genius. Monuments suggest genius, but graves whisper luck. You're neither, just a stranger who never stood a chance. A modern aside, you'd trade your soul for a time machine, but Egypt's got no reset button, just you and your tally of failures. The kids' laughter fades, and you're alone, the vulture's shadow crossing your face like a final verdict. Your body's shutting down venom, infection, exhaustion, all at once. You're remembering that dung paste, that hippo's grunt, those hostile glares, and how every hour chipped away at you. Joke 2. You're so done, the Nile might spit you out as a bad offering. You'd laugh, but your throat's raw, and you're coughing dust one last time. The village moves on, indifferent, while you're a fleeting blip, a cautionary tale for no one. That vulture's circling closer, its wings a soft hum, like it's ready to close the book. You're lying back, the sand cold against your skin, the dawn's light too weak to save you. Your hope's gone, and Egypt's lesson is clear. You're not built for this. The kid's pebble rests in your hand, a tiny, mocking weight. You're fading, the world blurring, the Nile's distant roar a lullaby you can't resist. You're alive, but only just, and every throb, every shiver, is proof that Egypt's gauntlet was too much. The sun rises, but you're not rising with it. As the dawn fades into a soft glow, let your eyes drift closed, the desert's hum softening to a whisper. You're safe now, far from the Nile's bite, the sand's grit, the gods' watchful eyes. Picture a gentle breeze, carrying away the weight of that endless day, leaving only calm. Your breath slows, each exhale a step toward rest, the vulture's shadow dissolving into starlight. Egypt's trials are gone, a distant echo, and you're cradled in the quiet of this moment. Sleep beckons, warm and forgiving, a place where no scorpions sting, no floods rise. Drift there now, wrapped in peace, and let the night carry you home.